Welcome to the exciting world of the movies.
Hello, retro movie lovers, and welcome back to the Movie Graveyard. We have got a classic here tonight, the 1974 Tobe Hooper amazing cinematic masterpiece, the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. In order to do that, there was only one person I had to call up on a rotary dial phone and get him over here, and that's making his triumphant return after he was gone for so long. Bat 32, welcome back.
Thanks, man. It's like we just did this. We did that podcast 2 weeks ago. I think we did.
Well, yeah, I want to get into this movie here, but one thing that I want to say is I feel a little bit like I'm pulling you back into the world of podcasting. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I appreciate it. It's always nice to do a different show, and it's cool because it's like like they've been running this pot. What was the last commentary we did? It was your 7-year anniversary, yes. And it was like, yeah, why the fuck have I never been on your show till now? And now I'm like on it consecutively.
I feel bad too because like the only reason you really like weren't on it or whatever is like I never thought you really wanted to be, and then like you brought it up like the last couple months or whatever, and we would talk a little bit when I would guest on EC, but I'm like if anybody belongs in the Movie Graveyard, it's Bat 32.
Well, it's like a lot of stuff that wouldn't be like covered on EC, like I'm dying to roll out, and we were even talking for a little bit there. I know Zach's been getting busy. We were talking about starting up a Kino-oriented podcast just so we could talk about shit that I just really didn't fit the EC mold. And I'm like, well, I think I can't. I mean, you've invited me on. I'm like, well, why even do that when you already kind of got this fucking platform already? And I mean, you don't really do new movies though, right? Or you do newish
I think
movies?
The newest movie we did was, and I could be wrong, but I think the newest movie we did, and this was just like, it was actually taking an old podcast and repurposing it, was like Amazing Spider-Man from like 2011, 2012, something like that.
I just finally watched that.
It's my favorite Spider-Man movie, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, I don't, it's I watched part 2 and I was like, oh, this is good. And I think it's on like Netflix or Tubi. So I watched the first one, but I bought the Blu-ray to the second one. And honestly, I think the second one is better than the first, but just in my opinion. I think the second
one's really good until the very end, like the last 20 minutes. It kind of drops the ball a little bit, but
yeah, I agree.
But people didn't come here to hear about Spider-Man. They came to hear about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I have got the Blu-ray pause on the 2-second mark. There's like no studio logos. We're just going straight into real credits here. It says a Vortex/Hinkle/Hooper production. So I'm going to say
probably turn my volume down.
Yeah, turn it down so we don't get the copyright strike.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. When you hear me say the word go, please hit play on your remotes or your what do you got, Bat? The Razer Fist gaming mouse? Is that the one you got?
Yeah, right. I've got I lost the remote for my Blu-ray player, so I got a fucking universal remote here. Okay. We were just talking about that.
All right. Are you ready, Bat?
Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3, go. We are rolling. Toby?
Yeah, I got this Black Web universal remote, which was kind of pricey, I think, when
sounds
I picked
cool.
this up. It's okay. I mean, half the buttons don't even work for it, so, and some of the buttons I need. But
what do you want to say about the opening crawl? This is what influenced George Lucas clearly, with the black background and the yellow letters.
Is that true?
I don't know. I think it's got to be, right, though? Because, like, he was, like, when this movie came out and was playing, like, 2 years straight in drive-ins, that's when he would have been on post-production and everything, so.
Well, a lot of people attribute Last House on the Left and its success to why we've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And if you remember, and we were actually, interestingly enough, it was either this or Last House on the Left, and you picked this we were going to cover. But Last House on the Left actually had these events are true, yada, 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 but not quite like a crawl. But it had a little thing at the beginning. So, very similar.
Yeah. And obviously the opening narration is read by a college student at the time, John Larroquette. Yeah.
John Larroquette, yeah.
Who, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've read this numerous times that he just came in and did it, and they paid him with a joint. Did you ever hear that story?
No, I didn't, but I've listened to the commentary, the original commentary. I don't know about the later. I don't know if there's a more modern. I think there's a more modern commentary with Hooper too, as well, on these Blu-ray.
Just like by himself, yeah.
Well, was he by himself on that original? Because that original was taken from. I think it goes as far back as the Laserdisc.
Yeah, it's super old because the original has
90s.
Tobe, Gunner, and Daniel Pearl. So yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has always been a classic in my opinion. I originally seen this VHS under the Wizard video release at this sleazy little mom and pop that had all the sleazy horror. Sleazy's Last House on the Left was There I Spit on Your Grave, Traces of Death, Faces of Death, real death scenes. I mean, it had the scuzziest, a whole porno section. It was the dirtiest pornos. It was called Video World, baby, and I loved that place.
Yeah,
it was my favorite place to go.
I think I didn't even really see this like all the way through until after summer school came out. And then, like, my dad always told me about it because my mom and dad saw it at the drive-in. Like, it scared my mom so bad she crawled, like, under the dashboard of the car. Like, my dad don't even know how she got underneath there. But, yeah, and eventually...
It was effective.
What was that?
I said it was effective then.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then, like, I remember we rented it, and I saw it on VHS, and, like, yeah. But, I don't know, like, every movie looked like shit on VHS, so, like, not to go too much into this, everybody says, oh, this movie's supposed to look like shit, because I watched it on VHS and looked terrible. To me, every movie looked terrible on VHS back then, so,
right.
So it was, I really fell back in love with this when the Blu-ray came out, the original Blu-ray came out, and I was like, oh, you can actually, like, see the shit, and it's not, like, all dark and fuzzy, you know?
Well, the VHS that I finally had gotten a copy, because I remember, so I originally seen it on the Wizard, but at some point that got stolen from that video store, and then they didn't have a copy. Of course it got stolen, you know? Yeah. And I actually know the first time I saw it, it was the neighbors that I'd go over to their house, and they would always be playing it, and I had to piece the movie together over time. Like, this one was, like, really young. I was, like, I don't know, like 5 or 6, and they'd always have it on in different parts, and it would just fuck with my head, and I'd be like, what is this movie? Yeah. They're the ones that stole the VHS eventually. So later on, I seen it on like cable or something all the way through, and then I would go to this other video store called Horizon Video, which I really liked a lot. Actually, Cockbuster came in and bought them all out, and I'm not going to say they ran them out of business, but they tantalized them in buying their locations. Right. And they went out of business, and they were great. They had a porno section, too. They had the media VHS of this. And then, so when that happened, they didn't carry. Once the Blockbuster moved in there, I don't know if the tape got sold or something, but they didn't have it on their shelves anymore at that location.
Probably just broke, because like I remember when I worked at a video store, and I worked at a video store late. Like I worked on the video store when VHS was dying, but there was like certain movies, even ones we had multiple copies of, and people would just like, I remember Oh Brother were out there. Old people especially would come and just rent that nonstop, like it was a new release. And like, if shit was really rented heavily, like Always Out Bat, like, and I'm sure TCM would have been like that, like those tapes would, like, out of heavy use, like, because tapes aren't really meant to be played every single day. Dude, like, they would unspool or break, or just the plastic would break, and, like, depending on what the store would do, like, I worked at Hollywood Video, and they would try to get us to try and fix them, but I know a lot of stores would just throw them away and then, like, not give a shit about reordering another one, you know what I mean?
Well, interesting fact about that, what you bring up is, I mean, first of all, the media tape was the thicker, heavier duty tapes. The heavier ones that were made for video rental were made for playback. But I know who always had it rented out. It was me, and because I could never find a VHS copy I literally would, because it was so cheap. It was like, I think, $1 for like a week.
Oh,
I
wow.
would literally just keep calling up there, and then when I would go back to rent anything new, I would just keep it and keep paying, and I kept it for 6 months.
I was
6
gonna
or
say,
7 months.
You could keep
I never
TCM.
brought it back.
Yeah, if it was $1 a week, you could keep TCM for a whole year for only $52.
Right. So for like 6 months, I remember I kept renting it until I think what I did was I hooked 2 VHS players up and I dubbed myself a copy. But then later on, I found this Castle Hill, who are the ones that put out the Laserdisc in the mid '90s. They put out a VHS that was uncensored and blah blah blah. I finally found that in '98 at an On Cue. And I bought that VHS copy, and see, the restoration on that was decent, but it left a lot of the grain. And so I think that's what a lot of these guys are saying is like they want it enhanced, but they want the grain and the scratches left in, which I kind of get that, like especially with like, and I still haven't. I mean, I'm sorry, you probably have. I still haven't watched that Thriller release. I just haven't had time. But like, I'm hoping that they did. Oh, you haven't?
No. I mean, I skimmed it to compare between the Blu-ray and the 4K, but I didn't like sit down and watch the whole movie.
Is there still scratches? I mean, it wasn't really a heavily scratched film, but it was
really
grainy.
remember the scratches. I just remember the like emulsion of the grain and everything was real obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like stuff like that. I get it because I watch a lot of, EC, Grindhouse stuff. We watch a lot of sleazy gutter shit, and yeah, man, I like to have that. This print just looks, beautiful. I'm looking at this one, and it just looks great. And I get what you're saying. And there is still some grain. I think you can see the grain more at night in this print.
Yeah,
but
the night shade.
I get it. The colors are more vivid and stuff, and I guess with that exchange, we had to lose the scratches, cigarette burns, and grain.
Yeah. I like this version better, honestly, because like to me, like I don't really care. And don't get me wrong, I do sometimes like watching Grindhouse prints and shit. I mean, I get the appeal of it, but like considering this is such a classic movie, like this is like pretty much the Citizen Kane or one of the Citizen Kanes of horror genre. I kind of
it's the ultimate horror film.
Yeah, I kind of want to see what Tobe and like Daniel Pearl were like trying to actually shoot when they were looking through the viewfinder. I want to see what more like accurately what was captured on that film stock when they shot it. You know what I mean?
Right. And this was stored properly. You see a lot of like The Last House on the Left. For anybody out there, and I ain't trying to promote fucking Arrow because I know you don't like to promote those guys on here.
I mean, just what's the point? Okay, cool. Let's get a 4K with some glitches on it.
Well, look, the Blu-ray. A lot of guys probably listening already know this, but if you haven't bought The Last House on the Left, just buy the standard edition. I picked up the steel book, but they've got like a regular standard edition. And if they ever put out a 4K, don't ever touch that thing because the 2K already isn't very impressive. And it's because that print, like they cobbled a bunch of prints, the best prints they could get to make one print, and I think that's what they've been using since that first MGM DVD came out. That there is only one decent print because it wasn't stored properly, but this was stored in the Austin University archives,
right.
And it looks, it's night and day. This is where we looked it up. We were wondering earlier, and you said, yeah, this was 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter, blown up to 35 millimeter. Same thing with Last House, but it's night and day to the way they stored and preserved the element. And clearly the Last House on the Left elements were not stored and preserved properly.
Yeah, I don't know. That MGM blue is good enough for me on Last House, personally.
I've got the Arrow one, but I'm not. And we were talking about this on the last episode of The Hills Have Eyes. I got that steelbook for that. I'm done at 2K with that. With 2K. I haven't even gotten a chance to watch that transfer, but go ahead and put out a 4. Oh, they got a 4K of that, but go ahead and put a 4K out of Last on the Left. I'm not buying it, and a lot of people are going to be shitting on it.
Like I don't know which way to go with The Hills Have Eyes. I know we got to jump back into actually covering this movie here in a second, but
right?
like I'm kind of like, should I find some sort of just standard Blu-ray release of Hills Have Eyes? You know what I mean? And
just get the steelbook.
Yeah.
Like I did. And I didn't buy it from Arrow. I bought it on eBay. I bought it brand new. It's the FYE special edition, still sealed. I think I got it for like $30. which I think that was what it. I mean, it's technically brand new. I mean, I think that's what it retailed for. So you're not. I mean, you're not getting a deal, but I mean, it is. I think it's out of print as far as you can't get it at FYE anymore because it was an exclusive. But you know, I would go with that. That's my opinion. I like the art on that steelbook. That art wasn't used on any of the other releases that Arrow put out, and that's the one I recommend. So.
But yeah, like rewatching this, you know, not just this time, but you know, when I had the first Blu-ray of TCM, just as an older person, like I just really enjoy the style of this movie, and that's why I like seeing a good print with some good sound of it. And to me, like one of my favorite things, like one of the kind of like the first highlight, besides obviously the cool opening narration, is I love that shot, how it hangs on that shot of the melting fucking corpses that have been dug up, and then you get the voiceover of the news report on the radio about all the grave digging that's been going on, and
you couldn't hear what they were really saying until that Pioneer mix original DVD. Right. Like before, it was all kind of muffled, and now you can like hear. And even these transfers, the audio mixes on these are even more like I can make out more. Like when I was watching this one, I only watched parts of it the other day, just scanning through it or whatever, because I haven't watched in so long, and I was like, man, this is clear as day. Like there's other stuff like the Texaco plant that blew up. Like it's all real shit too off the radio they grabbed. It's all
gruesome too.
Yeah. I love it. And then you've got the moon spot or the sun spots, and my last issue of Sleaze Fiend, this guy had written a very interesting article about the occult connection with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it starts out, I mean, and actually he makes a good point that there's some, I don't know if it's subconscious. It can't be, though, completely, because Pam is getting into, which I have that book that she's looking through. I got a copy. I don't know if it looks identical. They put out a few different editions, like, because it's a astrology book, so you need it to be up to date. So they put out a few different editions around 72, 73, 71, 72, 73, but it pretty much looks identical. But yeah, I mean, she's looking in there talking about astrological movement, so you already have this occult element going on, but it's like even further to where the hitchhiker smears this like looks like a symbol with his blood on the side of it, and it looks like this guy has been comparing it to Saturn or something like that. And I mean, when you go back and you look through this lens of with the sunspots at the beginning with the title sequence, that's not something. I always thought it was like the inside of the cook's oven. Mm-hmm. In the old prints of like a meat cooking, but it's not. It's actually like these real footage of the sunspots exploding, right? And then you just get like, I don't know, you just get a lot more like moon shots and just a lot of weird cult references, especially with the teenagers. It really does make sense that, and I wish I had that article in front of me. I could hit the bullet points on everything, but
for sure. I mean, even just like the way the house is decorated, I mean, it's not just it's a lot of bones, but it's not just bones randomly scattered. Like there's sculptures and there's things that are almost like little altars placed throughout the house, if you really want to like go through on the blue and like freeze frame and look at the shit, you know.
But like, you know, we were talking about this earlier about how we were talking about video games just aren't as good, movies obviously aren't as good as even like 20 years ago. Not even, I mean, this is way further back. But like this type of element, okay, so like he didn't have to like Hooper didn't really have to solely rely on the occult element to sell it, whereas like today's filmmakers would be like, look, they're reading the astrology. There's some kind of occult element. It would just be shoved in your fucking face till the end, where you're like, okay, I get it, I'm exhausted, go away. Like, this is stupid. Whereas this is just like subconscious in the background. It's like, yeah, this is like a subplot too, but like really, it's more like, what's going on with these wacko people, this family, and why are they eating flesh, and like, you know what I mean? But it's it's still lurking in the background, and it's like, I don't know. It's just like a whole melting pot of things. That's why, like, I don't think they can ever you couldn't remake this movie. You can't put a sequel out that touches this film. And I don't think that I think this is the granddaddy of all modern, horror films. I don't think that will ever be topped. I have yet to see it be topped in any way.
It's really weird. And I mean, obviously we weren't alive when either of these movies came out, but like, to me, I always looked at it as like Night of the Living Dead in 68, and then this film in 74. We're really
and
like
in 72 you had Last House.
Yeah. It was just like almost like a 1-2 punch of like like the transition point. Obviously nobody knew it at the time, but it was like the transition point into what would end up being modern horror. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think bringing up those three: Night of the Living Dead, Last House on the Left, and I think this is the culmination. This is the peak of everything. Obviously, George Romero's kind of kicked it off. There was other stuff, before that, but it was more on the hokey drive-in stuff. So it was like kind of quite not there. This has dark comedy in it because, like, I had a buddy, one of my buddies, he would always laugh at this. Like the cook and all the shit going on at the dinner table, and it's like funny, but it's like sick. But like, you got to be like sick individual to really get into it. But yeah, I guess it's dark comedy. It is really like a lot of dark comedy in this. But I mean, sitting down watching this film in 1974 at a drive-in or a movie theater, I don't think anybody was laughing.
No,
I don't think anybody was laughing. Obviously you've watched it 100 times and you're like, Franklin is just like on edge and he's just goofy as fuck and him hurting himself and stuff. You laugh at that shit. And I think, the filmmakers wanted you to laugh at it, but it wasn't like Last House on the Left, bumbling police officer
with the music shit playing, the cop
music, with the goofy, and then you got Ada Washington showing up with the chickens, and so and that's probably why Last House didn't hit the peak, is because he had all that goofy shit, which I think Wes said, he put that in there just to like give the audience a break, whereas Toby's like, no, we're not giving them a fucking break. Like that, this is the formula that works. Balls to the wall. It just keeps ramping up and ramping up and ramping up.
Well, one thing I want to talk about too is like, you got this like really kind of threadbare plot line of these kids on their way to like a concert or whatever, and like get all this grave robbing, and they stop at the cemetery where I think their grandfather's buried. They just want to double check, make sure their family grave wasn't robbed and all that shit. But like, don't get me wrong, I think Last House is a very well made film too, the way it's shot and edited. But like, you look at that 2-year gap, how much they progress, and that's why I always think like Toby, Kim Hinkle, and Daniel Pearl, especially like they don't get enough credit as filmmakers. As like, they were very modern filmmakers for the time. This film's from 1974, and I get it, like people think it's low budget because you just see all these old ramshackle places and everybody's like all sweaty and not Hollywood actor looking. But if you actually examine the shots and the cutting style and how often they actually edit, like this actually took a lot of coverage for a no budget film. Like they knew what they were doing. Like either Toby or Daniel Pearl, somebody was kind of editing this film in their head as they were shooting it, because like it cuts together so well, and it feels like a movie that's more from like 1978, 1979 than 1974. You know what I mean? It's very modern.
Well, the reason that is because this isn't Tobe Hooper's first film. Tobe Hooper directed a feature-length film in 1969 called Eggshells, which I had to get a rip because the fucking DVD is out of print. And I wanted to I got it yesterday, and I just didn't have enough time to sit down and watch it before this. But I like scanned through it, dude, and there's this one fucking, I don't know, it's out of context, but there's this one sequence where it's like all sped up and they're like walking with the camera into this house. And dude, it's like a trip. Like it looks psychedelic, like a trip. Like, and it keeps having the smoke appear. And dude, I don't know who cinematographer is, and I don't know if it's Daniel Pearl did it. I would imagine, because they went to school together. That's I think how they met. So he might have done the cinematography, but Yeah, it's not a horror film. I think it's like a drama or something like that. But no, I mean he's already had experience working. He did a short film that's on. It's called the feature is called Eggshells, and then he did this one in '71, a short film called Heisters, and that's on that DVD too as well for Eggshells or whatever. So he had experience already working on stuff. That's why when he got to this, I mean, he'd already cut his teeth on experimenting. I think that probably helped out a lot. I mean, look at that trucking shot when the girls.
Yeah.
I know they did a lot of trucking shots, which a lot of filmmakers, independents weren't doing.
Exactly.
And you can see the difference. Especially, I've been doing an article on Kenneth Anger, and he didn't have a lot of money for his short films or whatever, but he did a lot of trucking shots and set up track and stuff. And really, that stuff sets the filmmakers apart. Like, if the guys that had that stuff going in the late 60s into the 70s, you can tell that there's more skill there than just some guys running around. Like, Last House on the Left, I don't remember any trucking shots. There's a lot of handheld stuff. Granted, it was well done.
It was very well done, but you could tell
Yeah.
they didn't have the amount of camera setups when they shot.
And they could have built stuff, but it just didn't happen, and they found ways around. There might have been some maybe I'm speaking out of place here with that. I have to go back and watch it. I haven't watched it since last October when I got the steel book, but I always remember that trucking shot where the girls are going up to the Coke machine, and you get a lot of that too later on, and you get these running shots and stuff. Even the handheld is well done.
Also, too, the shot that Michael Bay based his entire career on of tracking the girl's butt walking up to the house. Like, you always see the kind of shorter version of that shot of just her ass walking up the house, and they recreated that in the remake thing. But, like, really what's cool about that shot is, like, the part they generally don't show you in the trailer is, like, the camera is behind the swing. She's swinging, she stopped. The camera goes under the swing, and then it follows her. That little move where it goes under the swing, it's so freaking cool.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've always loved that. I wanted to point out, though, Sally notices, that's when Sally actually notices the symbol. And I think I don't have the audio on, but I could have sworn she says he smeared some kind of thing on this. He smeared blood, and then when they get to the house, they talk about the symbol more. So that tells me that the filmmakers want you to notice what he smeared on the side of the van.
Well, Franklin
even
says something.
Significance to it.
Yeah, he says something like, did he mark us so he could follow us? Like, Franklin's worried about him getting, them tracking. Yeah. By the way, we got to talk about the barbecue.
Yeah, fucking cut him. So obviously. We
got to talk about the barbecue though, because like, as somebody who generally enjoys barbecue, and obviously Texas is known for its barbecue, the meat that they eat in this movie, it always looks nasty to me.
Yeah, I think that's on purpose, and even on that original commentary, I think Tobe Hooper was saying that it was like a dick, and when he was like,
it always looked like a
chewing
dick
on it and stuff, it looked like a dick. So I'm pretty sure that they were intending it to look like a dick.
Yeah,
like he was chewing on a dick.
But like, I guess we should bring this up. Like, whatever. Like, is it ever really actually clearly established? Because I was looking for it this time, and I still didn't clearly catch it. Is it ever really established in this original movie that the barbecue is made out of the people that they kill?
No. Well, there's that. See, it's not like, it's very subtle. Sally's looking, and it looks to be like there's organs or a hand or something, and you can see it even better on these restoration, which, again, these restorations, like when she on the VHSs and stuff that I saw, Wizard, and even later the Castle Hill VHS, which seemed to be one of the better, the later day, transfer looked better. You couldn't see hardly anything that was in that fucking oven when she gets to the gas station at night later,
right? And
he turns on her and stuff. Like, you can actually see it. It looks like, it appears that there's like a hand on the spindle in there or something. Okay. We'll look here when it comes around. But I think because she freaks, her reaction to what's going on inside that oven that's when things start getting weird, and she's like, that's something off. But she's so freaked out about the guy with the mask made of flesh wielding a chainsaw chasing her around. that it's not as big of a concern, but they do zoom in on that what's going on in that oven.
The red oven, yeah.
There's something going on in there that they want you to look at, but yeah, I don't think we get the confirmation until TCM2, where it's that hard peppercorn tooth.
Yeah.
They spit out, yeah.
Well, the reason I bring that up is like, yeah, this isn't like heavy on cannibalism, talk of cannibalism, but like,
we get it because he's cutting them up and he's putting them in the freezers, right. And he's already turned. When the cook comes home too later on, he's like, "Did you get them?" And he shows like Franklin has already been turned into a pile of sausages, because there's like a pile of sausages on the countertop. Like, right. He's already made him into sausage or whatever, and you can see like one of the girls is in the Pam, I think's in the freezer. And then you see also in the corner that fucking Franklin's wheelchair is all folded up and shit, like set up against the freezer. And then like I think he's like indicated that he's a pile of sausages now.
Well, also too, maybe it just wasn't like completely. By the way, the shot of the guy seeing the nest of spiders, that's like such a classic moment. The way they zoom in and they zoom in on his face, and it just obviously something they just improvised when they got to the house and saw the spiders.
Because they said that was just there, and they're like, let's film it, so.
But because Tobe said they were trying to get a PG rating with this, because there was no PG-13 at the time. It was just PG to R, and like that's why they intentionally didn't show like too much like,
nudity
blood or
there's no language. Yeah. Well, there is, because he's like calling them bitch hogs and stuff. Yeah. Other crazy bitch hogs.
But it's like obviously it's just one of those things, like you'll just get an R rating just for intensity. Like that happens a lot with even movies now. They're like, oh, we want the PG-13. They're like that happened with the first Conjuring movie. They're like, no, it's R. Like you can cut it any way you want, but it scares us too much, so it's always going to be R. And it's like, I think that's what happened. This would have always gotten an R.
Yeah. This would have always gotten an R even today. This is too. Even today's audiences will be freaked the fuck out if this came back out. I don't care. That's what I'm saying, is it's effective and it'll carry on for generations. That's how you know you made the best horror movie ever. Because, I mean, I still think if this rolls and is shown to a modern audience that's never seen it before, they're gonna be scared.
I think a modern audience too, honestly, would like be taken aback by just how kind of like retro it is. Like I remember when I saw like when I saw Napoleon Dynamite in the theater and there's a bunch of kids, it was like the first 20 minutes like nobody was laughing because nobody knew how to took it. Everybody's like, is this serious? This is whatever. And just like this, like if you were just a modern person who only watched slick, clean Hollywood films, you're probably going to be watching this and watching all the opening shit with the corpses and the voiceover, and you're probably going to be like, well, this movie isn't really telling me how to feel about this. It's just like letting me see this like weird shit, you know?
Because they're used to being told how to feel.
Yeah.
These days.
Dude,
wait, this is confusing me.
Yeah.
I'm not being explained what's going on, and there's not a narrator. Like, they told me kind of what's going on, but that narrator wasn't effective because he didn't tell me what the movie's already about. Like, I actually have to watch it and figure it out.
And there's like nobody to root for in this movie. Like they're not like virtue signaling to you like, oh, Sally is the whatever. Like when you're watching this part of the movie, like the early part of the movie before anybody really dies, like you don't know who the fucking main characters are. Like you don't know anything.
But after you've rewatched it enough, I think most people that are horror fans are rooting for Leatherface in the Sawyer family. Get him.
Like I was rewatching some of the scenes from Summer School right before, and then Chainsaw and Dave were talking about like our hero Leatherface kept.
Yes, and they get to show they had a 16mm print that they were screening and stuff. Oh god,
yeah. Here, Franklin gets the see the little like altar that they placed. So like that. I mean, because obviously this was their Sally and Franklin, their family's old home that obviously they abandoned or whatever. But it's obvious the family. I mean, we don't know it right now, but it's pretty much just like
the Sawyers have been hanging out there.
Yeah, but it like they're marking it in a way that would really bring into the cult influence, like you said.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up too, like this. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much it's been. I've read a lot of articles and stuff, and I don't remember Remember Tobe Hooper on that first commentary? Mind you, that's the only one I've ever seen. talk about how they got fucked over on the distribution, but like more has come out over the years and about Branston Pictures, who actually is the distributor of this that ran it in the drive-ins and stuff like that, and made all this money, which he talks about, and some of the cast have talked about how these guys had gotten a hold of it and basically cut the filmmakers and crew and cast out of the picture till like I don't know what like into the early 2000s, like basically right, you know, like I don't think Tobe Hooper got to really fully get a piece of that pie till like later before he died. Like,
well, like I mean, this is IMDb trivia, so it could be like outdated, but I was specifically looking up that information. And
I've got it in front of me. Do you want me to?
Yeah, because like the shit I was reading said like they only like royalties wise, like they pretty much only got like $450 per person that worked on the film.
Right. Well, what happened was they had a bunch of people that were not smart anyway, and then they sold it off to this like I don't know, it like because it was only like basically they had like a 40-some% stock in the film, but then that was supposed to be split with all these other financiers, and then I think there was like can't remember there was like some post-production more costs, so that's how Branston got into it. And Branston is actually was a company that was ran by the Colombo crime family,
right?
Anthony Perino. And Branston actually put out Deep Throat,
right?
Party at Kitty and Studs, aka Italian Stallion. Yeah. Flesh for Frankenstein, Dark Star, Coonskin, Devil's Reign, and some other stuff. I think they put out Nightmare and A Damaged Brain too as well. So yeah, that's kind of what happened. And like these mobsters basically like made a killing, and literally millions and millions and millions. Who knows, because it's all crime oriented and they're not going to show the real numbers of what they were dragging in.
Right.
But off of the drive-in, and like they own these fucking drive-ins, so like, and they were like notorious for fucking skimming. And I've talked about this in a lot of my articles and Sleaze Fiend about how they were doing it in the peep shows and stuff like that, how they were skimming, so that nobody really knew how many quarters they were taking in. They were doing the same thing at the drive-ins and the movie theaters that they owned, and obviously the porno theaters were outlawed to begin with anyway. So they were probably showing that they weren't making a profit, so that they could like file for bankruptcy or whatever and not have to pay any taxes. But they were like, I heard that they made like millions and millions off of this, and that's not just 70s month. I'm like talking there. That's probably be like they probably made a lot more money than they should have normally in the 70s off this. But Toby, none of them got a dime off of this, but yeah, here's a little. On August 28, 1974, Louis Perino agreed to distribute the Texas Chain Saw Massacre worldwide, from which production manager Ron Bozeman and Texas Film Commissioner Warren Scarron would receive $225,000, which is about 12 million inflation adjusted, and 35% of the profits. Years later, Bozeman stated, "We made a deal with the devil, and I guess that in a way we got what we deserved." They signed the contract with Branson, and after the investors recouped their money with interest, and after Scarron, the lawyers and accountants were paid, only $8,100, which was about $44,000 inflation adjusted, was left to be divided among the 20 cast and crew members. Eventually, the producers sued Branson for failing to pay them their full percentage of the box office profits. A court judgment instructed Branson to pay filmmakers $500,000. But by then, the company had declared bankruptcy because they were fucking mobsters and they were slick.
Yeah, like from what I read, they were basically using Branson Film Corporation as a way to launder money.
It was a front. Yeah, everything was a front. And a lot of these guys that were involved with peep shows and stuff figured out getting into the the mainstream film business and stuff like that. Another one out of the South was doing it. He produced a bunch of. He produced Seizure, the first Oliver Stone film, and these were all used to launder this peep show money. A lot of them were involved with the peep shows, and so they needed to launder that type of money and stuff like that. And investing it into pornos, and obviously Branston's I don't think Deep Throat's the only porno that they produce. It's the biggest one. Again, that was one where they got the film, and like Damiano, who directed that, and like Harry Reams took the fall for that. He's the only one that they went after, the main actor. They went after him, and didn't go after the director, the actress, or like any of the producers or anything. Like, he kind of took the fall for that one for him. Well, meanwhile, they're fucking making a killing off Deep Throat, in theaters. So, this company was like dirty. And apparently, in '83 though, New Line, that's how because I remember my VHS had that old school New Line. It was the same logo that was on First Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's like electrical, like I don't know, it's
flashes.
like flipping into
I love that logo. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. But yeah, '83 New Line acquired all the Branston stuff, all their properties. They bought all those properties and stuff like that in '83. So that's when we started getting home video releases, and I would say that must have been right around when Wizard must have put out that. They must have licensed it. New Line must have licensed it to Wizard Video, right? For distribution.
I would think so, because New Line didn't have its own home video set up yet.
Yeah. So, and of course, I mean, I remember even that Wizard had the New Line, that logo, which, God, it's just... Dude, because I know New Line still does that property, they still put the logo, right? Am I correct? Or was that like 5 years ago? I saw some new shit that had.
Yeah, it still exists, but it's really weird. Like, I don't even know how to describe it when it pops up on shit and when it doesn't.
Yeah. Be cool if somebody did a new horror movie and it was involved with New Line or whatever, and they used that old logo, like how George Romero was doing it with Land of the Dead, and then some other guys started doing that, like stuff with I think Rob Zombie, I just saw that trailer for Munsters, and he used the old Universal logo too. I haven't seen the movie. It's exactly, everyone's saying like Newt loves this fucking goofy shit, and he said he had to shut it off. If it was so bad that Newt had to shut it off.
I watched it Friday night. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Newt couldn't even finish it, dude. You're lying to me.
I'm not lying to you. I mean, I love the Munsters though.
Ass.
So I mean,
that trailer looked ass.
Well, okay, here's the thing with the trailer. The trailer had the unfinished sound and the unfinished visuals. The movie doesn't look anything like that trailer. Like, they did all the color grading. They put a film grain filter over it. Like, the movie actually looks very good.
I don't know. I was not happy with 3 from Hell, and I'm convinced
I still haven't seen that one. It's the only Rob Zombie movie I haven't seen.
You know what? You don't even need to see it because it sucks. I mean, literally, I'm going to be honest with you. There's, like, the 2 main scenes that made Devil's Rejects great. He tried to do it again. He has a motel scene. It's like he tries to recreate the tiki. He tries to remake his Devil's Rejects. He's like, oh, this was successful, so I'm going to remake scenes from it. And then, like, it's kind of like that whole tiki motel scene. It's broken into 2 scenes. But, like, basically he tries to do what was successful in that one scene again, but he has to do it over 2 scenes. And the second part, the, like, weird where there's a hostage deal, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there's, like, that's the same thing we got in Devil's Rejects that was so intense. He tries to do that again, and it's good. It's, like, the only scene that's good, but I'm just, like, after I watched the movie, I'm just, like, you just did what you did in Devil's Rejects, and you thought it was going to work again. Like, I don't, you're a hack, dude. You don't know how to write a screenplay, and your dialogue is fucking horrendous. Like,
there's
you're
enough
not a good
people
writer.
making a good living right now on the internet hating on Rob Zombie.
I'm not a Rob Zombie hater. I'm really not.
Him. I like some films more than others, but I like them.
And a lot of people hate Halloween too. I like Halloween
I love
too.
Halloween too.
I just saw Mac's fucking Halloween list, and he had Halloween 2 as the last on his list. And I was like, "Are you kidding? You're kidding me, right? Like the Resurrection gets a notch up from Halloween 2." I was like, "Bro, what are you smoking? Like you smoking something, ain't you, buddy? Like somebody laced your weed or something? Because you're sadly mistaken, sir."
But we had the first kills there. You had the guy get the hammer in the head. That's an iconic shot. I love Leatherface standing in front of the red wall with all the bones on it. And then you had the girl get caught, and again, it's like that shot of her running out of the house and Leatherface pulling her back in.
Grabbed on her waist, mid just rips her out of the air.
Yeah, like that's so iconic. And then like obviously
her shoes actually fly off her feet.
Yeah, her chanclas, Yep. But yeah, I mean that's just all like I think that sequence right there pretty much has him, with the exception obviously the chainsaw dance at the end, but in terms of Leatherface actually killing people, I think that was the best sequence out of all the movies.
Yeah, I know. I like this guy too. This is Jerry, Sally's boyfriend with the little Jew afro and stuff going, and he's got the wiry fucking glasses.
There was a lot of white guy afros back then, I've noticed.
Yeah, it was so common, yeah. But I just love his flowered. That was totally. My uncle had a shirt like everybody that was a cool dude. I think I even seen a picture of Pete with one of those, like, type of fluffy, everybody, you were pimp, man. Like, you were pulling the wool if you had that shirt. And I can see why this dork is fucking got, Sally and stuff. Cause, like, and it's great. He's like, Kurt, this is when I first saw this. I went over to that neighbor's house. And this dude's, like, looking, I just saw what happened to those two. And, like, so I'm seeing this out of context, like, what's context with this film? It's just brutality. But, yeah, I just seen what happened to these people, and now, like, because I come over to the neighbor's house, and I'm, like, 5 or 6, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, this is, like, it's seriously, like, you're like, dude, don't go there, like, bad shit's happening, like, I remember thinking in my head, what are you, stupid, like, and he's all wandering, like a going into the mousetrap, like,
those shots are great, too, of him walking against the trees.
Around, and when he gets up to the house and he's like, Kurt, and like, I don't know, this movie just like the formula and everything just works because they're so clueless, and it's like they're fucking going like, and then we get more little subconscious subtext, like, because the hitchhiker's talking about his family working at the slaughterhouse. They're going past the slaughterhouse, it's stinking, and he's like, oh yeah, my grandpa, my uncle used to work there, and that's like the cows going up to get hit in the head with a sledgehammer. Like, they have no idea, and I think that's what they're trying to create here. I mean, there's so much going on so many levels here of, like, okay, you get the base plot, which is just these kids are like whatever wandered into this fucking and are getting murdered, but then you got other things like, yeah, they're like the lamb to the slaughter, like the cows of the slaughter. Like, he has no idea what's coming, like, and he's just like a cow going into the slaughterhouse.
We
even have a slaughterhouse door,
Yeah, I mean, don't you think there's something too? Because they talk a lot early, in the beginning part of the movie, the hitchhiker. They talk about the slaughterhouse around here. And my daddy worked there, but it's like, and it's like all shut down, and it's like kind of this weird thing of like. This film takes place at a period in time, especially out in like country areas, where it's like it's the transition time of like when people used to have to kill their own food to where people in like modern times just buy their food at the supermarket, and these people are clearly out in the middle of nowhere, so like they're stuck in the old ways, and it just obviously like there's something about when you kill your own food all the time. I mean, I'm not saying it would make you want to kill a human either, but like a person who just kills animals all the time and doesn't think anything about it, And I know we all, we eat the flesh, we eat hamburgers, whatever we eat. But there's a difference between, like, knowing that this shit was killed somewhere and doing it yourself and then eating it, you know what I mean? And, like, I just feel like there's like you said, going back to the cult stuff and the ancient ways and just the more barbarian time of life that humans used to live in, you know what I mean?
Well, I just think it's so impressive that these filmmakers are, like, I mean, you ask, like, film scholars or whatever, and they're probably going to disagree with this, but, like, the more and more I've seen this movie, and I will say this, and maybe you have too, I've probably seen this film at least easily over 100 times, if not more. I mean, I've seen this movie a lot, man. I mean, a lot. And the whole occult element, that was something I read that guy's article and then watched it again and was like, whoa, this guy's onto something here. He watched it on, I think when he wrote that article, I ended up asking him if I could rerun it and Sleaze Fiend because I thought it was just so interesting, and nobody had ever talked about that occult like angle. And I'm just like, they're, and then just like me talking about them going to the slaughter, like they're at the slaughterhouse and stuff. And you got the slaughterhouse door and stuff. Just so much like subconscious stuff going on in this film that it's really impressive with some like it might not have been his first film, but like it's very impressive that this guy's on some kind of Kubrick multi-layered type film plot and everything. Like this goes beyond the surface plot, and you get into these layers of how this guy was able, and everyone else involved was able to execute this in in the conditions they're shooting in too. I mean, I've heard enough of that commentary with Henson and Hooper about how hot it was and how like the cast was going crazy and shit, like, but to still be able to transcribe all of this stuff onto the film as you're shooting it, and like that's why I say I don't know if this was all conscious. Like some of it was, but like I don't know that everything here is actually conscious. I think it's some kind of like subconscious collective thing that's going on to the film. Like I don't know, maybe I'm reaching
no, I don't
really
think so.
far.
I think
now,
a lot of it is cerebral because I think these filmmakers are like very intelligent people, but I think also too, like you said, like once you go and like almost subconscious, like, okay, we're going to decorate the house and we're going to put bones there, like that's like a note you put whatever, but once you actually get there and you're making all these weird bone sculptures and you're arranging it and you're doing all this shit, and then like like Gunner's in the mask and he's doing all this shit and you got lampshades made out of faces and all this crazy shit, like I think there is something there to where it's just like the whole effect of it starts working on you, and like even for a creative person, like your brain starts working differently. And even though you're just like you start out thinking you're just going to scratch the surface of kind of these themes and stuff and making this horror film, the deeper you go into it, you know what I mean? And especially with like a more amateur production like the way this was, small crew, I think those conditions are going to put you more into like actually, whether consciously or subconsciously, exploring what you're setting up here. You know what I mean?
I think, what I'm trying to like, yeah, I agree. And I think what I'm trying to more express too, and like, I don't know, it just goes back to what we were talking about. It's just not as good. Like some of it is, but like most of these filmmakers out here are fucking hacks. Yes. Compared to these guys, they're hacks. And like for them to even reach this level, which is like, okay, this is Tobe Hooper's second film. Some of these guys have to make like 20 films to even touch any of this stuff, or like get near a Kubrick or Scorsese. I mean, these asshats talking shit about Scorsese, like he'll never be able to make movies on his level, and he's like he's not even trying hard. Like he's not even in his prime anymore. Like, and you can't even touch him, like, because you guys just aren't in the same league, and because the league is like lowered its standards now because of. Right. And I mean, I know you watch fucking superhero movies, I know you watch the stuff, and like, but that's what it's been watered down to now. Is like, oh well, if we have an explosion, and like basically Michael Bay is one, like in Hollywood, like. This action and all this stuff and something happening constantly, like that indicates to the modern audience this is a good film if there's something exciting happening every 30 seconds.
Well, not only that,
that's how you gauge whether it's good or not.
Not only that, but like I would say, not to go too far down this, but like I would say really in modern times is like what kind of sucks is when you watch something like you're not watching the superhero movie. Like you're watching like an indie drama, or you're watching like, a lower budgeted film, but it's still a studio controlled film. And then those films get destroyed and turned into the easily digestible, like they're pretty much like, even though it's a completely different genre, like storytelling wise, they're aping and imitating the basic superhero films. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. It's like it's just like, whereas like this, like these people, they're young independent filmmakers. Okay, that's a different perspective, and they're from Texas, so they understand what that area is like culturally, and they're just able to go in and like just do this shit that is very specific. Like you couldn't like shoot this in the backwoods of upstate New York and get the same feel. You know what I mean?
Well, I want to say too that like Are you familiar with like outsider art and like what that entails?
Not really.
So like this outsider art, and like I want to say that like we were getting that more to an extent. I mean, these guys were exposed to some modern movies and film and stuff like that, but like basically outsider art is created by someone that's like hasn't had a lot of exposure with the mainstream world, and so they're doing, their art form is not really they're not exposed to it, so they're not being as influenced by it, right? And that's where you get all this experimental stuff. And I think during, like, say this era, there wasn't as many movies coming out. It wasn't as accessible. I mean, you didn't have home video. So I want to say that a lot of these filmmakers, why there's so much originality and so much, like, I don't know, just genuine, like, creativity going on in these older movies, is because they're not being over influenced by like everything that's ever come out. Now it's like we push a button and we can watch anything. I mean, even if your movie library isn't as expansive as say yours, or mine isn't quite as it was 10, 20 years ago, but you know, I mean, my movie selection can be, though, if I have all the streaming apps. I mean, not everything's on there, but, and so I think that is problematic for creativity, because when you have so many of these influences around you, you know, like you're always, whether you're consciously or subconsciously, you're influenced, and like it's getting into your work, regardless. Some people think that's cool. What if you're a fan of Quentin Tarantino or Rob Zombie? They're paying homage or whatever, but like I think it affects the work. And like personally, I don't think that Django, when we talk about Quentin Tarantino, I don't give a fuck what anybody says out here. They love that. They suck that movie's dick. I hate it. But Django can't hold a candle to Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, I agree with
Reservoir Dogs,
wholeheartedly,
even though people are saying, oh, it ripped off, City on Fire, whatever that,
Which it did. It's shot for shot, but it's still a completely different movie.
I don't know if it's a shot. Dude, I watched that, and it was, like, stretching it, really. Like, it really was stretching that was a ripoff. It's not. I don't see it being a shot-for-shot ripoff. I watched that movie twice, and I don't see it. Like, they don't... Like, they even go into, like, their jewel heist. It's like a jewel heist, but, like, that is not even the same. It's not a shot-for-shot remake.
But there's a lot of the action stuff, like when the guy takes the two pistols and he shoots up the cop car and all that shit. Like that, like all that shit is like literally shot-for-shot.
Okay, some of that is, but not the entire film. And like, some of the plot differs. Like he takes it in a little bit different direction. And it didn't open with them around at a restaurant.
Oh no,
coffee, if I remember correctly. So it's not a shot-for-shot remake. But again, like and I think he's falling into it too now. He's now. I mean, he worked in the video store, but now, I mean, the man's getting 35 millimeter print. Like he owns 35 millimeter prints of a lot of stuff now.
Right.
I mean, he's so high up there now, he can like snap his fingers and like get me a 35 millimeter print of this or that to screen, and they're gonna roll it out. Like I think he kind of gets awarded like Scorsese fucking status, and he hasn't really earned it. He's good, but he's.
Well, I think he's the Scorsese of the '90s or whatever you want to say with that.
I think that's the problem, because like he is the best out here right now because everyone else blows.
Oh,
they're not as good, and so he is the best by default, which kind of sucks.
That's why I don't get the hate Rob Zombie gets. It's like, okay, you might not like Rob Zombie, but people have literally pegged him like the modern Ed Wood, the worst filmmaker. It's like, dude, I see major studio productions that are more incoherent and sloppy than Rob Zombie movies that are made like super cheap.
I think he just needs to quit. Like, first of all, I think that my recommendation to him is to stop writing your own screenplays. Stanley Kubrick always based his movies off of books, Even if you're gonna write your own script, I don't think his dialogue's that good. Like, you should get Tarantino to write your dialogue, dude, because Tarantino's good at writing dialogue. I mean, he is a good screenwriter. I would go as far as to say Tarantino is a better screenwriter than he is a filmmaker. He's one of the best screenwriters right now working in the industry, and he always has. He has been since his career began. I mean, the guy could have just had a career in screenwriting. I mean, and be successful.
I mean, that's what he tried to do initially.
I know, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's where Rob's lacking is the screenwriting. But like, look, you get, Chainsaw, what we're watching here, and we got great dialogue, we got great storyline. This script probably wasn't that sophisticated.
No.
It's
I've never. Movie.
Right, absolutely. It's not dialogue driven. But yeah, I mean, This didn't rely on the screenplay. This relied on a melting pot of things that came together and stuff like that. But there's more, like I said, I've been trying to get across it. Man, there's more going on here than meets the eye. That this isn't just some cannibalistic fucking family with a mongoloid fucking chainsaw wielding fucking son with a flesh, mask made of flesh. I mean, that's just the surface plot. There's more going on here, and I don't know if it's conscious or subconscious. I would say about 50% of it is conscious. I mean, the slaughterhouse angle with their home and stuff, like, you didn't have them install like a slaughterhouse style door for the kitchen,
right?
Subconsciously, that was a conscious decision, So there's maybe a lot of this we should be giving Tobe Hooper credit. That a lot of it might be conscious decisions.
I mean, I don't want to go too far down the road, but there's a lot of detractors of Tobe Hooper. And a lot of it has to do with his
Poltergeist, because of the Poltergeist deal.
Yeah, that, and then his canon output. It's like, I'll assemble Toby's 5 best movies, and I'll put them up, just about against anybody of working in the time period he worked in. And it's just like, sorry, like the dude's got a solid filmography, and if you think he can't direct a script that was so clearly like laid out, like Poltergeist, then I don't know what to tell you, because the man had proven himself to be a genius director. I think it's pretty well documented. He had some personal problems during the time for sure, but yeah, I mean, the guy was super talented, and just Toby's one of those guys. I don't even know if I get really as sad when I think about it or remember that he passed away a couple years ago. But it's just more weird that we live in a world without Tobe Hooper, and I know he had been an actor for a long time, but like, the guy was such a distinct voice, because like I didn't grow up obviously with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It came out before I was born. I caught it afterwards, but I did grow up. I do have strong memories of going to see Poltergeist, Invaders from Mars, Life Force in the theater. Like, I just always liked the guy. Like, I never had this negative opinion, and I think sometimes too it's like that's kind of like, like Tarantino's gotten it a little bit and stuff. It's like when somebody gets so hype and they made some movies that are so classic, then everybody years later they gravitate to their kind of weaker stuff, and then they get really critical. And I think that happened to Toby. Was like, he kept making more and more movies, and a bunch of them in my opinion are good, but people are like, but it will never be Texas Chainsaw 1, it will never be that. It's just kind of like, you got to get over that, like, I don't think the Funhouse is nearly as good as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but the Funhouse by itself, if just fucking whoever Joe Smith directed the Funhouse, we'd be saying that was one of the best horror movies of the early 80s. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Eaten Alive is not as good as this, but it looks like this. And you got the gal here, what's her name, that plays Sally Hardesty. I'm sorry, I
Marilyn Burns.
Yeah, Marilyn Burns in it, and we get introduction of Robert Englund in there, pre Nightmare on Elm Street. He's Buck, and he's here to fuck. So, and I mean, it's just this like bizarre gonzo story of this like Vietnam veteran with this fucking giant crocodile he's been feeding people to. And it's not to give too much away. I know you said you never seen it or whatever, but
I didn't realize it was such a classic obvious. The way people talk about it.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious with the plot. I mean, I'm not giving too many spoilers away because the cover shows like crocodile. I mean, it's clear like shit's going on here, weird shit's going on here. But no, it's gotta basically like it's gotta feel like he tried to kind of duplicate Chainsaw, I think. Yeah. Sort of.
He was trying to be fair, he's trying to get his money back. He got fucked out of the Chainsaw.
Right. Right, and he may have recouped a lot. He might have made a lot of money off that film. So,
But yeah,
but
going
then
back
you got
to the
Salem's Lot too. You know, was a big
oh,
success.
that's
that
another
TV
thing.
movie
Salem's Lot.
That's his third installment of film. You know, in his third film, I think. Right, that was before Funhouse.
Yeah,
76, right? That came out.
Yeah, like I know it was made for TV and everything, but like you know, I've always like Salem's Lot has been one of my favorite movies. You know, I always, you know, again, I was a baby, I think, when it was on TV, so obviously I didn't watch it when it came on as the miniseries, but I would catch it as being rerun, and then, you know, when DVD came around, I got the DVD and then the Blu-ray, and like that's just one of my favorite movies, period. And like I don't care if it was made for TV. It's like, sorry fuckers, Tobe Hooper got a good filmography.
Yeah, no, I was always creeped out. I know we're getting off, but hey, we're kind of staying on topic because we're talking Tobe. We're staying within the realm. We didn't get crazy like EC used to. We were talking about whatever. But anyway, Salem's Lot, the scene when the kids fly in through the window, like the one kid just tapping on the window and shit, it was like always creeped the fuck out of me. And I thought it was really effective. And I was telling you around last Halloween, DG had that 4-pack Blu-ray set, because I never seen Salem's Lot, the standalone Blu-ray, and I was like, I gotta get this. I think it was like $8-10, best $8-10 I ever dropped on a Blu-ray pack. I think it's got Cat's Eye and it's on there, and I double dipped on a Cat's Eye, I think. And
I love Cat's Eye and it as well.
Yeah, but no, I wanted that Salem's Lot a Blu-ray so damn bad, and it's worth it, man. And the commentary on there is great. I reckon if you haven't listened to that one with Hooper,
I did a while ago.
Because like that and the Funhouse are some of his latter day. Like I think he recorded those like before, you know, a few years, 5-6 years before he passed away. So that's like his later comments, I think. And maybe the Life Force one probably has a later commentary. But even going back, like you're like, oh, shitting on his work or whatever. The Toolbox Murders of his modern stuff, the Toolbox Murders remake is fucking, dude, it's up there.
Yeah,
like that's a fun film. I know his later stuff in the 90s are, I don't know. I just got Spontaneous Combustion. Never seen that either. I wanted to watch it before this so we could comment on it. Is that any good?
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and I remember as a kid being hard to get through. I was just bored by the storyline, but I'm sure if I watched it now, I'd probably, you know, now that I'm not 12 years old anymore, I probably would enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, I never seen it, so we missed seeing the meat cooking in the oven, but I still couldn't really see it very well, but she seems to be disturbed by it. And
what's happening on the soundtrack, Bad, is the guy's got the radio playing, and it's a news report, and the news report is talking about the grave robberies, and he keeps talking about the different limbs being removed from the bodies and all this stuff. So she's kind of hearing that and looking at the meat, and the meat isn't like it's weird and deformed looking, but you don't see like obviously a hand or anything. It just looks weird.
It looked like kind of like a hand in there, but that was, you know,
it kind of does, but they kind of zoom in on it, and then like you see it closer, and you can't really tell. It's just weird, nondescript, fleshy meat, and it's really more like her listening to, like, what I got out of it was it's more her listening to the news report and putting it together in her head, and that's what's creeping her out.
But I think the indication that they're cannibals is he's hanging them on meat hooks, and I couldn't see this on the past VHSs, but like I believe it was that first Dark Sky DVD. I could make out that there's like over by the meat grinder, there's like a bunch of sausages or something laying over there, and he's like, where are they? Did you get them all? The cook, and he's like, and he points to the pile of sausages, and like we don't see Franklin, so like I was like, whoa, I never realized that.
They clearly show that he butchers them
sausages.
Yeah, with the chainsaw. So
right, he's cutting up Jerry at the beginning, like during the day in the kitchen there, and like then he goes and like there's that big meat fork, and he like throws that down and shit, and it's like, yeah, it's clear you're preparing dinner. And then of course Leatherface comes out in the domesticated woman mask, and he has the apron on. Like, well, he's running around with a regular apron, but he's got like the homemaker lady apron, so it's clear he's cooking. You know.
Yeah, and like here, this is where they tied to the part where the cook is beating the hitchhiker, telling, "I told you to stay away from that graveyard." Like they are definitely hard connecting that. You know, the hitchhiker's been stealing all the shit out of the body parts out of the graveyard. But
and then we get more cult stuff that we didn't even really, because we were gabbing on a bunch of other shit at the beginning of how the radio said that that like the bodies were wired like a monument and stuff like that. You get more like weird occult things that the hitchhiker's doing and shit like that. Like he clearly wanted to leave like he'd been there. Like if you don't want to be detected, you don't just like make like one of these statues that you're making at your fucking house on the damn grave marker. You know what I mean? But he's like, no, I want to leave my calling card. Like, I've been here, so you know it was the sickos. Like, and only parts of the corpse have been removed.
Yeah, which I mean, obviously there's parts.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, there's Franklin's wheelchair over there rocking. Let's see if we can see the pile of sausages, because they're eating sausages on the table. They all have a big sausage on the plate. It's Franklin.
Yeah, well, we totally talked over too of when Franklin got killed, Leatherface just kind of comes out of the woods and saws him in the chair. But
you know, Newt was telling me that there's a scene that he saw where I think he's making it up, but he's like, no, it's on that uncensored cut where Leatherface, there's the pile of sausages over there on the butcher paper.
Oh yeah, I see it. They're like
white so you couldn't really see that very well on previous cuts. Like it was just like real dark and stuff, which, you know, I think that adds more creep to it. Like, I don't know what's going on. I can't see. There's fucked up shit going on. Like, I can't make it out. So, like, then your mind inserts. And that's what I think his mind did on this. He said that there was a cut he saw where Leatherface, when he saw Franklin, he sticks his tongue out and licks the blood off of his mask. I think you're just inserting things. Like, because Tobe Hooper talks about it in that original commentary, how he's like, yeah, people claimed that, or a documentary or something, I don't remember which. He's like, people claim that there was loads and loads of blood.
Right.
And really the only blood that you see is the little bit of splatter when Franklin gets chainsawed there.
Right.
So it was like these dark cuts and stuff, people are so horrified that their mind is inserting more than what's really on the film.
Well, there also, too, there's that thing, too, like, a lot of times they talk about horror movies, people cover their eyes or they close their eyes, and then they're like, yeah, they had all this shit in the movie that wasn't really actually there, you know what I mean?
Right. Filling in the blanks and stuff, and I think that's why this film worked, and I get that grainy cut, but, you know, after you've seen it, and you've seen the other versions, like, you can see what's going on, so it's not like the first time you saw it where your mind is, and like I said, my first few times of seeing it, I kept coming over to those neighbors' houses, and they, like, the first time I saw it, when I first came over there, it was Jerry walking around looking for Kurt, and I just seen Pam get murdered and stuff, and I'm, like, freaked out. I saw that scene, and then I come over there another day, and it's the chainsaw chase dance scene at the end, and I was like 5 or 6, and I was just like horrified. Obviously, my mind is like filling in some blanks because I'm really just seeing the horrifying shit. I didn't really see the bulk of the film, you know. So, but it always stuck out until I rented the media tape later on. Like, oh, what's this movie? This movie's mystical. It's got some kind of weird power. I mean, I've always felt like this film is powerful.
Oh yeah,
in other
it's very
ways,
primal,
you know. Yeah,
but that was a great action sequence too. After Franklin gets it, and I think that too, like, because we all know about Franklin now, the shock value is kind of lost on us. But I know at the time this movie came out, a lot of people were really kind of shocked that a guy in a wheelchair got killed. But like that was like another marker of this film going for the guts, and, you know, going for the just having balls that were a lot of horror movies didn't, because a lot of the horror movies were very cheesy back then, you know, very gothic kind of cheesy.
Yeah. And they also wanted to have, like, for instance, Last House to the Left, they wanted to have some kind of comedy, goofy ass, relief stuff, and you did get that on a lot of grindhouse horror movies that could have had this status early on, even in the 60s. but had like Night of the Living Dead really didn't have any like comedy. There was no comedy relief in that. So I think Romero tried, but you know, I think it's also other things. Like this had a bunch of like weird industrial like shit, like when he slams the door, it's got like this. It sounds like someone's shaking a door and like pounding on. It's like all this industrial type music, sounds and stuff. Whereas Romero tried to go with like of the time period, like musical scores like that were more socially, I guess, or professionally accepted in the industry, where it was just like stock tracks that he got that were, and it was a budgetary thing too, obviously, but if he had gone with like weird sounds and stuff, like people would be like, I think, putting that one over a little bit more. I'm looking on IMDb or on Wikipedia, and it's talking about that the PG rating they were trying to get, but it goes a little bit further and says that it actually originally got an X rating. Wow. After several minutes were cut, it was resubmitted to the MPA and received an R rating. A distributor apparently restored the offending material, and at least one theater presented the full version under an R rating. In San Francisco, cinema goers walked out of the theaters in disgust, and in February of '76, 2 theaters in Ottawa, Canada were advised by local police to withdraw the film, lest they face morality charges. Yeah, I didn't know about this stuff. After its initial British release, including a 1-year theatrical run in London, the Texas Chain Saw Massacre was initially banned on the advice of the BBC. Secretary Stephen Murphy, and subsequently by his successor, James Furman. While the British ban was in force, the word chainsaw itself was barred from movie titles, forcing imitators to rename their films. In 1998, despite the BBFC ban, Camden London Borough Council granted the film a license. The following year, the BBFC passed the Texas Chain Saw Massacre for release with the 18 certificate indicating that it should not be seen or purchased by a person under 18, and it was broadcast a year later on Channel 4. So they didn't really get... This thing was like hard to find, I'm guessing, until 98 in the UK, which isn't, you know, surprising because they created the whole video nasties list and everything. So
they really banned the shit out of a lot of movies.
But yeah, that's interesting. So there was like a cut that when it was Castle Hill put out the Laserdisc and that VHS that I bought, it must have been cut. But I don't know that the Wizard video was cut, because I remember seeing that, and it looked identical to any other screening I've seen.
If it wasn't really uncut, it was just, you know what I'm saying? Like, they cut it and then they just restored it.
Castle Hill put on their release, their Laserdisc and that VHS, that first time ever uncut and uncensored. And I thought, I remember seeing that on mine, but I never really paid any attention to it. And then I was looking up the VHS here recently. I was talking to Newt the other night, and I was like, yeah, this is the one I used to own. And I'm like, huh. Uncensored and uncut. That's weird. I didn't know that it ever got cut.
Yeah, because there's odd to me. Like, even in the UK, I know especially, there's a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s that were like whatever, you know, unrated, and then they just resubmit it later, like whatever video distributor later, and then just got an R or whatever their, or not an R, but a 15, 17, whatever their equivalent rating is. So there's like a lot of times like shit that's like, oh, this is socially unacceptable to put in the movie now. It's like 10 years later you can just put it back in and nobody cares. You know what I mean?
I think stuff's a little bit tamer. We were looking at that German Scream, and the German certificate's 16, so I guess the uncut version that they won't release here in the U.S. is suitable in Germany for 16-year-olds.
Yeah, Germany's really odd back because they censor the shit. I have a Blu-ray of Predator 2 that's cut the shit from Germany. I'm like, holy shit! Like, I didn't realize this was so cut. Like, I just got it just to get the steelbook, and I went to actually watch the movie. I'm like, this is cut to shit. Like, it's like even just from memory. I mean, I'm like, what happened to this scene? I'm like, oh, look, this is the cut version. Like, it's so weird. And then there's other shit where Germany, like, they're the only country to release the uncut version or some shit. So I have no idea what's up with their censorship.
Yeah, it is weird. And like that Martyrs, which I can't even watch anyway because it's got there's no English subtitles. Apparently that's cut by a few minutes, so I wouldn't have been satisfied with that even if it had English subs. Anybody out there want to know French or German who wants a nice copy of Martyrs, hit me up. I haven't cracked it because I'm not going to because there's no point. Yeah. I don't speak French.
But I was gonna ask your opinion, like, because I always remember Sally gets away by jumping out the window, but I kind of had forgot, like, the first time she runs to the house. She jumps out the window twice. Yeah, she jumps through the window twice.
Second story, and then goes out the ground floor window.
This had to be the movie, right, that started the kind of trope of the female heroine or whatever in the horror movie jumping out the window escape. Because, like, if you look in the 80s, that happened in movies, like, all the fucking time.
And then they have them do it in, like, I don't remember. I think in 3 she does it, and then for sure in 4 the main heroine does it too as well. Jumps out the window, so they wanted to keep doing that. Can't remember, does anybody jump out the window in that fucking shitty ass Netflix fucking reboot?
I don't remember. I only watched it when it first came out.
You did watch it, or you didn't?
I did. I watched it the first weekend it was out.
It's horrendous.
It's just not what I want.
No, I mean, there's only one good scene too. It's that bus scene. And that's about it, you know. It's just like, and it just shows that, like, you can try and try and try. You're never gonna come close to this. I mean, that one didn't even come close to, like. I'm not even a huge fan of part 2 because it's got too much comedy going on in it, and not enough, and not like, it's got some dark comedy, like black humor, but it's like there's just some goofball bullshit going on that always just like. I'm like, if you just didn't do that, like, this would have been great, because there's some really, like, when the kid gets his head sawed in half at the beginning and shit is like, I remember that, like, making my stomach turn when I first seen it, you know, and I don't know, but yeah, they try to like reuse a lot of stuff, and like they're like, oh, well, this works, so it's going to work again. And it's like, yeah, but you don't know how to use it. You don't know what you're doing.
It'll work again when we shoot it on some clean, clear digital video, and then we stream it. I don't even want to go into horror sequels made for streaming. I hate that shit. But we got to talk about our boy Grandpa. Like, I love the Grandpa character.
He's only 18. The actor is only 18, but he looks 100. I mean, this transformation is amazing.
And he only wanted to do the makeup once because it took so long, so they had to film like 18 hours straight to get all this shit done.
I met John Dugan, actually. Interestingly enough, I went to one of the roadshow when they put out that 4K Blu-ray, and they had a roadshow type Alamo Draft House, because they'll send these prints out to even if they're not an Alamo Draft House, if they're like just a indie art house type theater, and we got it when I lived in Nashville, and he was there. But I worked a haunted house while I was down there too, and he came and did a signing at the haunted house. I actually didn't get to meet him that time though, because I was too busy working the haunted house, and I thought maybe he'd stick around for the people working the haunted house to like meet him and get an autograph, but no. So. And he wasn't doing a signing at the showing, but he did do a Q&A, and I got to like ask questions, threw some questions out there and shit. So.
But I love how the family's like, yeah, Grandpa or killer, he's the best killer. He's killed so many cows in a row at the slaughterhouse. He could kill, and he's like 120 years old, so he can barely hold the hammer, and he's just like he just keeps dropping it and try. Like, to me, that's actually one of the scarier scenes, because
he's actually 127 because. In Texas Chain Saw Massacre 2, they say that he's 137 years old. Jeez. And they try to do he does the same fucking thing. He tries to reuse the same tropes where they're like, hit him in the head, Grandpa, and Grandpa's the best. And I mean, even Tobe Hooper he couldn't even top himself. Like, that's what I'm saying. If Tobe Hooper couldn't top himself with Chainsaw 2, nobody will.
I love Chainsaw 2, but it feels like an intentional parody.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is so great with this. I love this guy jumps out and he sees fucking Leatherface with those kids. Like, nope. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck no. I ain't fucking with this guy. Get up in here, girl.
Well, one thing nobody ever talks about, and I kind of had forgotten, I was like, oh, yeah, like the fact that the hitchhiker was slicing the shit out of Sally with the razor blade.
Her back. That's why she's really bloody. Her back is.
But it's funny too because you always remember as a kid, or I did, that the truck driver came and saved her. But like it's not even true. The truck driver gets chased out of his own truck by Leatherface too, and we never know what ends up
truck
happening
driver
to him.
picks him up. Yeah, picks her up. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy in the pickup comes and ends up saving her. This is awesome. He bonks Leatherface in the head with the wrench, so Leatherface falls and cuts his own leg.
Yeah, I guess they put a steak under there or something, piece of meat, like a real piece of meat under it. But then they had a plate, and I remember Gunner on the commentary, maybe like some of the documentaries, was saying that plate from that blade actually hitting it, like, because that was a real live chainsaw. Yeah. It heated the plate up and burned his leg.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would be so nervous doing that. Like, you're afraid it would go through, like, how, you know.
Well, I don't think he fell. I think they dropped the saw. They're like, okay, lay down, and we're going to drop the saw.
It's like an insert shot.
Yeah, it's an insert, but it's like the lengths they went to get that. They're like, okay, we're going to put a plate on your leg and saw through the steak with some fake blood on it. And, yeah, good luck.
And this is so classic, too, the shot of her. She's riding in the back of the pickup truck. And I love the shot of him chasing the pickup truck with the chainsaw, and then obviously
and we get the great dance and stuff, and all the colors are so vivid. Honestly, I don't know. We were talking about different restorations and stuff, but like when I'm watching here, this looks, other than like hardcore scratches and grain and stuff, this looks pretty much true to all of the past cuts. Like it just enhanced, and the colors are more vivid. So,
and that's such an awesome shot too, of like him against the outline of the sun, and I love this when movies do this in general, but this was one of the best examples of it, when like it just cuts the black. That's always a great way to end a movie.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, like maybe modern audiences wouldn't like this film because there is no explanation of what's going on.
Right.
I don't know. There's no explanation. They're just like, this is what's happening, and it's just like, I don't know. I just like that. I wish people would get back to that. I mean, my short film style was like that too. Like real, like, here it is. I'm gonna just throw it at you. Probably because I've watched this film so much that, like, you know, I can tell where people's their influences are, if they've had like hardcore Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just like grindhouse influences, just by the stuff, what they're kind of reproducing even subconsciously in their work and stuff. So
yeah, I don't know. This is just really is a masterpiece. I mean, it's just you can't really overstate how good it is, and it's just like we didn't talk a lot about it, but like the whole thing of the dinner scene, like to me that was always the height of the madness, and like I like when that's one of the best things I like that they do create. Like it's never as good obviously, but when they do the dinner scenes and the sequels and stuff, like that's really what Texas Chainsaw Massacre is about, is like how crazy and like whatever fucked up and this family is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I know this kind of extension too, because we've done it's not really available right now, but eventually I'll be putting the episodes back up. But you were on that. We did a Texas Chainsaw Massacre retrospective for Exploited Cinema some years
super
ago.
Long too. It was like 5 hours, 6 hours.
5 hours. It's not the longest. You were involved with the longest DC episode ever.
Yeah.
What was it? What did it clock in at? 7 hours?
7 hours. I mean, we recorded for like 9, but the edited version I think was 7 hours.
Yeah, we should have just kept going so we could say we recorded 10.
Yeah, like I kind of tried to get that done when I started Hillbilly DVDs. I had that Pod Jam thing where I had all my podcasting friends like just call in. We didn't know who was going to show up, and I kept it going for multiple segments. But yeah, like I kind of like that. Like I mean, like we never knew he was going to go 9 hours that one day, but I kind of like would love to do like a 10-hour thing if I could line up enough people to kind of rotate in and out. You know what I mean? But
we had a good time. We did it because we'd done so many. You'd done so many Exploited Cinemas that were long with me. You had no problem. Whereas, like, I could see Zach was, he was in the junior leagues. He was like, I gotta go down and get a bite to eat, guys. It's like, fuck you, eat your fucking share, dude. You're like, clearly you ain't seasoned enough. You could listen to these episodes, but if you're doing one, you're like, oh, this is a whole other ball game.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, by the way, Zach, if you're listening, I watched Black Swan. It's good, but you were trying to pull my sleaze card for that. It was like sophisticated pinky up. I'm gonna put some caviar on my cracker sleeves.
It was A24 sleeves.
Yeah, it was A24 sleeves. I'm more accustomed to like rape your mama and then murder her sleeves and then film it sleeves.
I don't know why, like, I always like find this amusing, but the main video game I play, it's called Dead by Daylight. And like you go online and like you pick a killer and then 4 people play survivors, and basically the goal of the game is they got to repair these 5 generators to power an exit gate so they can escape out of the level before you kill them. And like what you do is like
before you kill them.
Yeah, like the way you kill them too is like you knock them down and then you pick them up and you put them on meat hooks. And like when the game launched, it was like all kind of like fictional characters. Like there was a fake Leatherface on it and stuff. But then the game ended up doing so well, they got the money to actually start licensing the characters. So you have to buy it separate for like $5, but there is the Leatherface in it. And one of his perks, and I always liked it, like you pick these little perks, like you kind of design your own character, what special little things he has. And it's the perk is called Franklin's Demise, and the symbol for it is a hand dropping a flashlight, like how when Franklin gets chainsaw, he drops the flashlight. It's like the shot of that. And like, yeah, when you have that perk activated as Leatherface, you go up and you hit them, and like whatever item that they're carrying, whether it be a flashlight or a toolbox or whatever to help them fix the generators, they drop it. So I think it's kind of cool that, you know, in this world of just Leatherface, generic Leatherface, he's been in 8 movies, that a modern video game actually paid homage to Franklin of all people.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that's the first time Leatherface is featured in a video game. I could have sworn there was like some kind of fighting game, maybe Mortal Kombat or one of these fighting games where you could unlock Leatherface and stuff. So. Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, he's definitely. I always like to compare this to, like, you know, the 30s and 40s and stuff, 50s. You had the creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, right. Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, and Leatherface and Jason, and there are new Universal monsters. I mean, not some of them. I don't know who Universal, what properties they own exactly off the top of my head, but. You know what I mean? Like, these are the modern movie monsters now, and I think that they're sticking around a little bit longer. But, you know, like we haven't had a new Friday the 13th. Obviously, there's licensing issues or whatever with the rights. I mean, or there'd probably be like 10 of them out. We haven't had a new Friday the 13th in a long time. We haven't had a new Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. I think Elm Street is just, they realize they can't replace Robert Englund. I think Friday the 13th is like, because everybody's like, oh, the rights issues. I'm like, well, there wasn't a right issue after the remake grossed $80 million. They just didn't want to do it. They're like, this isn't worth our time. The studio was like we like $400 million profits. We don't like $60 million profits.
Well, especially if you dump a modern budget now is like 20 to 30 million, and that's like a small budget.
Yeah, that's low budget.
Right, that's very low budget, and they don't even want to like rock that on something that's not gonna at least triple that money. So I mean, but they're trying it with Hellraiser now. I'm hearing it's shit, but I was hearing that leading up to it. I haven't watched it yet, so we've tried. They're going and revamping it without Doug Bradley and. I mean, Doug Bradley even said that there would be, like, they would never be able to do it without him. But it's like, yeah, but you also don't want to do it anymore. So do you just want him to kill the franchise then? Because you said you don't want to do it. Same thing with Robert Englund. I don't think he said they couldn't ever do it without him. Yeah. But he's also said he doesn't ever want to do it. So it's like, again,
but he wants to dress up at conventions. That's right. What he really wants to do.
The guy's charging like a fortune. Like I heard this past year, what he's like, I think he's charging like $200, $300 an autograph.
Dude, you know what I think the real disconnect is, and I'm serious. I don't think it's that like those guys, Doug Bradley, Robert Englund. I don't think it's that they won't do it. I think it's just that like.
They know how much it's worth, really. I think they want to get paid more.
So they're like, if I'm 65 years old and I'm going to put this makeup on for 8 hours a day and run around and do all this shit, like break me off a couple million, and then you
a
can't.
lot more than a couple million. Like they want like probably 20-30%. And let's be for real. I mean, maybe not so much Doug Bradley. Like, well, yeah, kind of, but Robert Englund especially. Like, there is no Freddy without Robert Englund.
Oh yeah,
like he
Not
should
at all.
be. It should be a 50-50 split. Like if without him, you don't have a movie because you can own the rights to Freddy all you want. He is Freddy.
Exactly.
Like that face and that look is him. And it doesn't matter how old he gets because we're putting makeup over his face.
Right.
And you can always make him look the same once you put that makeup over his face. I think the guy that didn't get hardcore about it, but the franchise never got that big, was Angus Scrimm. He was even willing, that last Phantasm, he was like dying.
Yeah.
And was like, yep, let's do another one. Who knows how much Coscarelli, how much additional footage he got for like a possible another one to use. Like, let's shoot some more stuff, Angus, because we know you're dying.
But I think the disconnect is like these guys want millions of dollars in the studio. If they were smart, they would just pay them and make the movie and collect the money. But with the studio goes, we're a major studio. We pay people scale. People basically pay to work with us. Like that's everybody's thing. Like we have one name actor and then scale. And like you can't like they're so ass backwards. The people that run these film studios now, they're like they can't fathom because they don't know who Robert Englund or Doug Bradley is. Like it's not Brad Pitt or like whoever. So like they're like, why would we pay this guy I've never heard of millions of dollars? But then, like, what the fans are like, that's who we want. You know what I mean?
And
like,
they know who Robert Englund really is the Brad Pitt of fucking horror movies. I mean, he is.
He's the well-hung. So. But by the way, do you think it would have been impossible for Texas Chainsaw to get a PG because of Sally's shirt? Like her nipples are hard the entire movie.
I don't know if that. I think that would have been all right. I think it's the fact that. Yeah, I think it's the fact that, like, the whole fucking hitchhiker, bitch hog, and all that, using that kind of lingo, and the fact that it's clearly indicated by the end of the film that they're eating the victims, and there's cannibal stuff going on here. I don't think you're going to get around that for PG. There's just no way. Like, basically, like, the only way that you probably could have gotten a PG is if Sally had jumped out of the window and she was immediately thrust onto a sleigh with Santa Claus, and they went to the North Pole and made toys and shit and went and gave them to like sick kids at like these cancer, Make-A-Wish hospitals. Maybe and then Leatherface was down there shaking his fist at Santa Claus and Sally as they're riding into the sky. And then that's the only way that you could have gotten a PG. I think. I don't see that film could have done any. You would have had to cut half the film, and the kids would have just had to go to a rock concert.
Right.
It's just never. None of this ever happened. There's some weird stuff at the fucking gas station, and they just kept on, and they never. The cook had gas, and they were just continued on. That's another element we didn't really get into. Is like. If they had went to a different gas station or they had gas, this never would have happened.
Well, it's funny too because like the gas station, the guy's like, "Oh, the pump's empty. Like, they won't be here to refill it till late this afternoon." Or it's like, how do we even know that part was true? They could have just had gas at that gas station. You know what I mean?
Plus, he knew that they were going to that old house, and he knew that old house and stuff. But he tried to warn them too. Yeah, it's weird that like. He's got like some kind of multiple personality thing going on too, because like he tried to tell them don't go there, don't mess around there, like and try to warn them, and it's like but you're like part of this, so it's like
but like also too bad we didn't talk about it during the dinner scene, but he was screaming at them saying like why do you like he's saying like I don't like killing myself. He's like just get it over with, just kill her, you know what I mean? So it's
but he likes eating flesh.
I don't know if he likes it. That's just what his family does.
Well, he enjoys it by his second film because Jim Saito comes back for the second film, it's clear that he's the mastermind behind this, and he's turned it into a business, and he likes to make chili out of them.
I love when he goes to like the big convention to make the chili.
Chili cook-off.
Yeah.
And LG makes Stretch a fucking fry house. A bitch in a fry house. Yeah, I just watched that the other night. Have you covered that one?
No, I haven't covered. That's why I wanted to get this ball rolling, because like I like to do a thing.
We could do more. We could do. We could do 2 this month too. I don't know if I have time. I mean, I just got the Blu-ray. So
I hate to say this, but we're pushing it, releasing this episode in October. Because whenever we release horror movie episodes 11 months out of the year, they do great. They're our biggest downloads bet. But I release them during October, just like if I release a Christmas film thing during December, like the numbers tank. So unfortunately, the numbers are going to tank on this episode because it's a horror movie.
Are you going to release it in October or no?
Yeah, I'm going to. I want to give the people more episodes because I know the hardcore people don't care. The hardcore people will download, and I don't care about download numbers anyway. I pay money to make this show. I don't care.
I told you to just put it out early. Put it out on the 15th, the 16th. Like, put it out in a week or so they got plenty of time to consume it. Because nobody's going to listen. I mean, we found that out with EC. It would always be, like, November 1st, and I would put it out on, like, Devil's Night, but I would get my most downloads in November. I mean, the hardcores would listen, but it wouldn't get consumed until November.
I don't really care. Like, I think because we got some other stuff in the can, I think this will come out, like, 6-7 days before Halloween.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter because 6 months from now, all of a sudden people will wake up and download it. So I'm not really concerned about it. They'll get to it when they get to it, and I understand it. Even me, like, I hate these people that act like horror doesn't. And when I say people, I mean like these companies that release these movies and shit. They want to bombard you for 1 month and then starve you out. The rest, it's like, if you're a horror fan, you're a horror fan. You know what I mean?
I thought the summer was decent. I mean, we had X, we had Black Phone, even though. And that's why I'm not listening on the Barbarian, really, because I remember these motherfuckers going, "It was good, but it wasn't a horror movie." It's like, what do you want this? What do you expect? Like, there's never gonna. If it's not Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then, in my opinion, nothing's a horror movie then.
Yeah, there was a tidal wave of horror in September this year. I didn't really understand, and like I guess because they just wanted to get away from Halloween Ends coming out, they thought that was going to suck all the air out of the room. But
when is that? Is that dropping this month, or is it already out? Or I didn't see that.
It's coming out this Friday, but it's free. It's free to watch Halloween Ends. Just watch it for free.
Oh, I could always. I mean, I have my ways.
I'm going to watch it legally for free on Peacock Network. So.
I ain't getting the cock. I ain't paying for that shit. I'll just as well go down to the theater because
$5 see the cock, or $12 at your local theater.
Yeah, it's not quite 12. I think it's 10. Because that's like your Regal or AMC fucking
Hellraiser's
prices.
Free. Yeah, Hellraiser's free.
Hellraiser's free, and I'm sure I'll get around to the Hellraiser before everything. But I got so much sitting here, like I've been buying.
Same here.
We're gonna be doing some kind of. I don't know if we're gonna do it this month or next month. We're gonna be doing. Go ahead, tell them, give them the introduction, because that'll probably be the next episode, huh?
Were you talking about the?
What are you rolling out? We're rolling out a special.
Yeah, we're going to unveil a show within a show, and it's going to be called Movie Hoarders.
It's going to be part of the Movie Graveyard here, right?
Yeah, it's Movie Hoarders presented by the Movie Graveyard.
Okay, yeah.
With
it's completely your brainchild, but we've already done some shit like this on EC, like the last episode of EC that we did. We got into the boutiques, which I know you were kind of reluctant to do because you were like, I don't want to promote these fuckers. Like,
I really didn't at the time, but the thing that made me feel better about was you dug out some boutiques I never even heard of.
Yeah. Well, I think I brought up Turbine actually on there and was talking about some of their titles, and I gotta say I got the Chainsaw 2 Blu-ray that they put out. I love the cover art. If you guys haven't seen it out there, go on. If you're not even if you're not gonna get the import, just go look at that cover art because it's like some of the it actually trumps Vinegar Syndrome's current 4K painted art. Like, I like that a little bit, but not $43. I like it. I wish that they did something in this Turbine direction, but their transfer is boss. Let me say, I love it. So. Yeah, I gotta say, Turbine. I've finally experienced them, and they also have a 4K of Texas Chainsaw Massacre out, but I think it's out of print.
Mm-hmm.
So we might have to wait. I guess Second Sight is working on a 4K print. I don't know when that's coming out. Hopefully Martin comes out before then. But Martin's slated for before Christmas.
Big coon.
Yeah, and you're a big fan of Second Sight. You're a big supporter of that boutique, actually.
Yeah, because they are in the UK, and I don't like paying the tax of the middleman. Like, I buy directly from them. So what I do is I really wait till they have 6-7 titles of theirs that I want, and I've bought some stuff full price. I even bought a limited edition of the Craze, which was like super expensive, but it came in this box and all this shit. But like, yeah, I mean, the quality stuff. I mean, I think the three. The reason I don't like to go into boutique shit is I don't want to shame anybody who's just rolling off an old DVD. Like, this isn't the snobbery collector show. No. I know a lot of podcasts and YouTube channels are like, they hold up their $60 import version, and like, I'm not really about that shit. I want people to talk about the movie, not the boutique.
Right. It's not about that's why I kind of got away from collecting for a while there, because it started to turn into
cardboard.
But the extra feet. Well, yeah, now it's cardboard. But like when I started getting away from collecting, it was. But the extra features. It was about that. Even back to DVD, it was like, well, I can't get the bare bones. I got to have the extra features. But yeah, now it's about the cardboard. Yeah. It is just about the cardboard.
But I will say, and I don't mind talking about it as much because these are UK companies, I do really appreciate the job that Second Sight, 88 Films, and 101 Films have done, because I've gotten some really good stuff and from those companies that nobody else either put out, or the version nobody else put out. Like, I can't remember which one it was, if it was 88 or 101, but like, I got the uncensored, it's region B only, unfortunately, but I got the uncensored Blu-ray of Swamp Thing, and that's just like something.
The Barbeau titties.
The Barbeau cut, yeah.
Yeah, that was on. You can get that on DVD here in the States too, as well. There's I think there's a couple DVDs.
Do you remember that DVD sweepstakes though? The Barbeau cut is like, everybody would, because like you would buy random copies of Swamp Thing, and like they would all be the censored. It'd be labeled that they would be the censored cut, but some of them were, and some of them weren't.
Yeah.
But I mean, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with the DVD when I got a Blu-ray? And I think that Blu-ray is only like $11, even with the conversion rate and shit.
I heard you mention a bunch of British boutiques, but I didn't hear about. You mentioned Arrow and their wonderful restoration of Dune.
I think we should table all this. Okay, that was the sneak preview of what's coming on Movie Hoarders #1.
Will it be like that level? Is that what we're gonna do?
Oh yeah.
Are we gonna really fucking gnaw on these fuckers about some of this stuff?
I mean, you got to. What I like about Movie Hoarders, which I like, I hold back some restraint here, because, like I said, I want this show to be about movies. So you got to create a show within a show to be like, because I know a lot of people get upset because there are a lot of people that are hardcore fans of this label or that label. So you need to kind of quarantine that raw bareback style talk into its own separate show, and we'll put a warning at the beginning, like you might hear some of your favorite boutiques getting disparaged.
Some of this is tongue in cheek, like, yeah, there's things we don't like. This is me being serious though. Like, I've said this on your last. I don't know if I brought it up, but like, I know there's sometimes we give fucking Vinegar Syndrome ribs and stuff like that. We both order from them. I know you took a break and I took a little break because I mean, geez, I was just blowing my load on a bunch of their stuff and stuff.
We're not rich.
Yeah, we're not rich. We can't buy every fucking title and stuff. And yes, they are releasing Roadhouse. I got to give them credit for that one. Texas Chain Saw Massacre 2 they released, and they've got the Amityville out. I mean, I've got to give them props on these. And they made it right with my Thriller release. Came a little dinged up. They got the boxes right off the bat. The gal there, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. I got her email. Their customer service gal.
Yeah, she's really good.
She is a top class lady. She didn't even. I gave her the photos. She said, is it all the boxes? I was honest and said no. There was just like the main box and like one of the box corners. I mean, like they were willing to send me like both boxes. They probably would have sent me all the boxes because I paid for I bought the Camille Keaton in Italy box, and if I'd have said that was dinged up too, they probably would have sent me boxes for that too. Like, you know, they want to please. I mean, they know people are spending money, and you know, there's a collector aspect to this, and they're understanding of that. So I can appreciate that. They're not doing some fucking video boutique that's close to Bow. It's something that loads into a bow, and just ignoring that the disc doesn't work.
Just ignore it.
Like, just ignore the problem and it'll go away. Like, they're not like that.
Oh,
you
got a scene that keeps replaying over and over. Well, that's the exclusive cut that we released. That it's not an error. We don't have to do a replacement disc. We just give you the scene twice.
You got a limited edition version of where that repeats itself. That spot. That's actually a collectible.
Yeah, that's actually very rare. You're never going to get that. The HD DVD, the domestic Blu-ray didn't have it. It's our version. We bring you the scene that loops over twice again for no reason.
Well, it's like them built, like when the Mint was doing like coins and they'd stamp, like, you know, all these coin collectors are like, this one's got an error. It's worth like 20,000 or whatever. That's what that Dune, that Dune 4K is.
Yeah, that Dune 4K is very special.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll leave that. That's the tease for Movie Hoarder. There's a lot of people right now just going, oh, I'll never download Movie Hoarders. I'll never download it. And that's okay. Because it's not a show for everyone, but it's a show for people like us. Ain't that right, Bet?
Well, I mean, if we angered you, you've got to listen. Like, if that evokes some kind of emotion from you, right?
They gotta listen. So that's it. I want to thank everybody for listening. Most of all, Bat, I want to thank you for coming out of podcast retirement, because like I thought you was going to be going a little more regular with the EC revival. But I think sometimes it's more enjoyable for you to just slide into the co-host chair and bring your sleaze to whatever topic we got going on.
Well, I feel right at home here, and of course, I was like podcasting with you. I always like having you on EC, and we'll probably get something going. I kind of want to be more independent. It was nothing against Zach or anybody over that way. I think I just wanted to do like a more independent and have a little bit. I kind of felt like at times I was losing control. Not that he did a bad job or anything. Like he was trying to duplicate what we were doing.
The classic.
Yeah, back in the day, and he did a really good job. But like, there was a lot more stuff, like especially during the J-Dog era, where we would like come up with these like commercial skits and stuff, and like I would edit them, and you know, I put a lot more work. So like, I feel like if I bring it back, like I want to get back to that level, because I think it got real watered down over the years from just pure laziness on my end. So, but no, it's fun to do something fresh, and you've got like a different take here. So yeah, I appreciate, and like we can cover stuff that like, you know, wouldn't exactly fit the mold. Like, I don't know, we were talking about your love for Ghost World in Buffalo 66. It just doesn't seem like those films could ever be covered on EC, but I could talk them here with you someday, you know, if you haven't covered them.
Well, I mean, what's great, and obviously we could always just make a show just for ourselves and release it, and if somebody downloads it, they don't. But one thing that I think is really cool, just by looking at the analytic numbers, which I do look at a couple times a week, just out of curiosity, is we have a very wide. It's probably hurt our numbers in terms of like we don't stick to a specific theme or whatever. But like what's cool is like I can tell from the download numbers, like we have some people who like really like it when we cover like obscure dramas or comedies, and there's some people that like it more when we do horror, and some people it just like, so what's really great is like there's really nothing that's out of place on the show, because this show is just a celebration of cinema. It like, yeah, we probably would have double the amount of listeners we have, but like I don't I don't need thousands of listeners of every episode. I'm fine with hundreds of listeners, and that's cool with me, you know what I mean?
Well, how did your No Man's, you know, I don't know, just not trying to drag this out, but the debut episode I was on, No Man's Land, that just seemed like an oddball film that, like, not everyone would get into. Not everybody's a Sheen Machine fan, you know, like, I don't, you know, it's just, and then, of course, like, there's probably some people that believe the Corey Feldman shit, so they're like, I won't have anything to do with that gentleman any longer.
Mr. Shing, you are excommunicado from cinema.
Yeah.
No,
I feel
like
it's happened.
Like,
too, a little bit.
It's you know, like that episode hung in there. It started a little slow, but it picked up some steam. It's still picking up a little bit of steam. But like it's really weird. Like we occasionally have episodes that come out hot out of the gate, and they're usually like Friday the 13th episodes or something like that. But in general, it's like, yeah, like we get the core listeners. That's why I don't really promote the shows for the first week or two, is I let the core listeners actually get in. And I know that's not a good business thing, but that's just my kind of hipster whatever, what I like to do is I like to have the people that are loyal and in the know, and the people that leave me comments on YouTube and shit. Like I like to let them people have the show first, and then like over time it will pick up, and then basically we just have those things, just like how I found Profondo back in the day. I was searching for Romero shit, and I found Profondo's episodes, and we have a lot of people that come down that way too, that are like
keywords, right?
Keywords, or like we'll just hit upon like an obscure movie, and like we even have some comments like on the iTunes reviews are like, oh, I never thought anybody would cover Chocolate War or whatever. So like we have a lot of we don't have a lot of listeners that are like, I love the movie Graveyard, I love the GOAT, he's hilarious, I want to meet him and hang out. Like we don't have those people. We have people that are like, oh, there's like 130 episodes here, and 20, 30, 40 of these are like, because occasionally our download numbers will spike because I'll see somebody new found the show, and in one day they'll download every single episode.
Yeah, they go on a binge.
Yeah.
They're binging your show.
They'll just like load up their hard drive or whatever they have so they can listen at work or something. But in general, like, yeah, it's very movie specific. Like, this is the weirdest shit. I mean, I would ask you to guess, Pat, but there's no way you would know it. You know what the 2 most downloaded episodes ever of this show is?
Well, I know from you and Zach talking in that one little group message thing we had going, that I know that Josie and the Pussycats was performed really well for you, right? Unexpectedly, wasn't that one of them?
Yes and no. Like
is that one unexpected? Like you didn't think that was going to do as well, and it did better than you thought.
I thought
right?
it could. I honestly thought it could. But number 1, which just covered on the whim, was the original Jumanji. Which you're like, okay, there's Jumanji. It's people remember. I get that. Number 2, like close behind number 2, which I never in a million years would have guessed, the Cannonball Run. It's like, what? How many fucking Cannonball Run films are fans out there?
Love that film, man. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But, yeah.
That doesn't surprise me on the Cannonball Run because what's his name there? The stunt man that did Smokey and the Bandit directed Cannonball Run, right?
I believe so. One of them. I always get them mixed up. Who directed who on this?
It's what's his name?
Isn't it Hal Needham?
Hal Needham, yeah. Hal Needham directed Cannonball Run, so I think that's why it's so popular. I don't even know if people are like film fans are correlating that, but like a lot of the guys that I know really like Smokey and the Bandit and also like Cannonball Run, just like those. They're like, yeah, man, they like to watch NASCAR. Let's get her done. Like, they probably are motorheads and work out in the garage and shit, which is nothing wrong with those people. My uncle was like that, and then I met a lot of guys.
Yeah, my dad was a car guy.
Yeah, car guys and shit that are just, they're into this, and they like the Cannonball Run, and they like Smokey and the Bandit, and they just like these car-themed movies. So, yeah, I think that's, and then, like I said, more sophisticated, obviously, correlate Hal Needham as like, oh, yeah, everything Hal Needham does is great, which, I mean, a lot of the stuff Hal Needham did do was great for fucking coming from dude, that guy was a farm boy working, he was, like, during the Depression and stuff, and he, like, worked in Arkansas as a sharecropper with his dad, and the only way to escape that lifestyle was to go and become, like, I think it was a paratrooper or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then somehow he came back and was like, I want to become a fucking work in Hollywood, and got him foot in the door with stuntman. Like, this is the most unlikely guy, but he was like bound and determined. And then friends with Burt Reynolds, he like lived with Burt, and he was like, I think I'm gonna write a movie script. And everybody's like, yeah, sure, buddy. Like, you're just a fucking lowly stuntman, and he did it. He wrote Smokey and the Bandit, and the reason he got on the map was because he was like, "Hey Bert, buddy, old pal, will you star in this for me?" And Bert I guess he took a hit on that payment, just to do a favor for his buddy, and that's why put Hal Needham on the map. But even that looked like Hal Needham, a fucking kind of a hick from Arkansas, sharecropper's son, right?
Right.
Is a better screenwriter than these modern fuckos that are fucking producing movies now. I mean, dialogue. I mean, his dialogue is fucking great. We
can trash modern movies all we want, Pat, except the ones that are made for streaming. You can't prejudge those. If it's made for streaming, then it's really exciting, and we got to go in fully mind open. We got to make sure that these films really get the examination that they got. Because if you make it to give away for free, it's going to be the highest quality.
What was this? What was this director you guys were talking about? He made that I don't know, whatever, trans gay film. I'm sorry if that's wrong, but it's not politically correct.
I'm not
term,
sure.
But you were talking about how he was bitching about. Let's hear about this.
No, it was the guy that made the comedy, and the thing was like what I was pointing out was this is how he promoted the movie, right? He said, "If you're not a homophobic piece of shit, go see my gay romantic comedy." It's like,
and
okay.
it didn't come out for us.
Well, not
right?
only did they not come out, but apparently
even the gay community.
The gay community didn't like this guy either. I guess he's an obnoxious comedian. I try to watch some of his videos where he goes on the street and he talks to people. And that's how he promoted the movie. He went out and he was telling people we got this.
Yeah, because he heard
movie.
Word of mouth works.
Yeah, but this guy is just the most abrasive, like whatever. And then like gay people are like, dude, like I'm not leaving my house and paying $12 to watch you like make silly jokes and get railed and everything. So it's like even gay people don't care about this guy. And like that's the point, is like the studio was like, oh, like we got this genius thing, like this guy, he's gonna come, he's well known for being an outrageous comedian, he really like, he's one of the comedians, like he screams at people on the street and he says stupid shit and he runs away. Like they're like, this is the guy that's really gonna get people involved. And it's just like
he's edgy.
Yeah, he went on Twitter and he was screaming at people to go see his movie instead of being like, this is a great comedy, you're gonna laugh, everybody's gonna love it. He screamed at people, and then like he got the backlash, like double. Like eventually like gay people were coming back, I'm seeing, being like, you don't represent us, like you're an asshole, whatever. And now he's like trying to play it off like he was joking the whole time, and he was just like, it's like
it backfired on him and didn't look good.
Yeah, well, I think especially with the comedy,
backpedaling.
Yeah, you can't have a sour attitude when you're selling a fun comedy. You know what I mean? And like I think that's kind of like the disservice with social media. The movie might be great. He might have made a really fucking funny movie because he was the co-writer and the co-star of the movie. It might be a really funny movie. But why would you fucking like tell people, you pieces of shit, you're laying there hating gay people, you need to come see this? It's just like, that's not going to get anybody excited. Gay, straight, whatever, you know what I mean?
You're straight bashing, man. You're reverse psychology in it here. Straight bashing. It's like, it's not okay for you to gay bash, but it's okay for me to straight bash. It's like, I love that. It's like a reversal.
Yeah, and it's like everybody's gonna be excited because I'm doing the thing that I'm complaining about, but I'm doing it to another group of people. It's like, no, dude. It's like people want to walk into a theater, grab a bucket of popcorn, and forget their problems. They don't want you.
Yeah, they don't really like you when you become like what. That's basically your equivalent of a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Really. They don't really like that. I don't think that works, and it doesn't.
No.
Like they can't over the. I don't know if any of these guys know it, but like. If it's tongue in cheek or whatever, they can't see you winking, dude.
Right.
Like from the message, that you're sending out, like they can't
you're
see the
laying
wink.
around in your boxer shorts, hungover on Sunday morning, like you still got the Saturday night party vibe going. You're tweeting this shit, but dude, it's like 9:23 a.m. Like
it's not fun time anymore.
people aren't ready for your bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But
modern film world, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll leave it at that because we have now officially done a 2-hour show for a 83-minute movie.
That sounds fair, though.
Yeah.
It's a lot less than the last episode when you had me on.
That is true.
I made you push a marathon, but you were like, you didn't even have to put all that in, and you were like, I'm gonna release it all.
Well, I kind of feel like too, because like I messed up last time and didn't do the that was the sneak preview of Movie Hoarders, but like there was like that good 20 minutes I forgot to record, and like I just don't like what's the point, like maybe like as long as we put all the extra fat of the steak on the back end of the episode, I'm cool with it, because you know, if you listen to the first 83 minutes of the movie commentary and you got what you need out of this episode and you don't want to hear
you can dip.
You can go. Like I it's always bothered me when I listen to podcasts and they're like, even if it's not a commentary show, if it's just like a talk show, they're like, on today's show we're going to review this movie. All right, I'm 5 minutes in, I'm 10 minutes in, I'm 20 minutes in.
You just described EC.
Yeah, but I don't know. EC was a different affair.
Listen to the intro. Yeah, because we bring up all kinds of off-the-wall shit and stuff that got you. It was like a show within a show within a show within a show.
The intro was a show within a show, yeah.
Yeah. The intro was the money.
I'm talking about people that do a 45-minute episode. The title is they're going to review this movie or talk about this topic, and they get to that topic with like 10 minutes left in the show. That's the shit I don't like. You know
yeah. No, we'd give you like the big old fucking steak, but like we'd also talk about stuff. We'd actually give you an introduction during the intro, like of things to come, but we'd say, well, we shouldn't blow a load completely, you know?
And, you know, also, too, I think there's something to be said, too, is like, I think you're probably going to be more successful in the podcasting game. This is just my observations. If anybody out there wants to start a podcast, if you want to be successful, do a 45-minute podcast once a week, so 4 episodes a month. That's like the easily digestible but still constant content. That's not what we do. Like guys like me, guys like Bat, like we don't sit down and talk until we have something we really want to talk about, and we're going to make sure that we get everything we want to say, plus some fat and some BS on top of it.
Well, I think it comes down to, like, we get together once, like, every now and again, and then, like, a little bit more, because you hadn't set up your desk, and I kind of, like, it wasn't that I don't want to do it wasn't, like, the first time when I stopped doing EC and then came back. It was just, like, kind of like I got too busy. Like, I still like to do it, but I noticed, like, maybe this is with you, and I know your girl's into stuff, and like I know people that are into stuff, but they're not like hardcore into like these movies, and like gems and deep cuts and stuff like that. So I think when we get together, whether it's you or I get or Zach's on, or we get Newt has joined on EC a few times. He was actually going to be here tonight, but he had some prior obligations that came up rather abruptly. I would have loved to hear, because he saw this in 77.
Right.
Chainsaw, and when I was like, you were 3 at the time. I was like, you probably shit your diaper seeing this, and you were a kid. But I just want to hear that, 1977 drive-in screening, viewing in the 70s, but he wasn't able to join us. But yeah, again, like, I think it just comes down to, like, we don't talk to people normally. I mean, if you got a buddy that's into this stuff, like I do have a friend, but we don't see each other as much, and he doesn't live too far away. It's just busy, Yeah. So you kind of want you to get in with your friends, talk about deep cuts, and you guys are kind of on the same wavelength. I think that's what it is. For me, it's like, oh man, it's easy to spend 4 or 5 hours catching up with you or any of the guys that we podcasted with. So, I mean, yeah, we always, I would say, like, we don't do those. Like, you listen to some podcasts, they're so overly produced, and they have commercials, and they have this and this. They have whatever agenda. It's just like I just rather pay for this show out of my pocket to host it, to put it out, to do whatever. Like I've bought in so many movies just because I want to cover them, honestly, just to have a copy, whatever. Like this podcast has cost me so much money, so like at this point, like it's a lost cause in trying to make it. You're like, it's breaking me. I'm not breaking even. It's breaking me.
Yeah, like there's no whatever it is, Dollar Shave Club ain't coming to save the day financially of this show. So like, if I'm gonna pay out of my pocket, it's gonna be a labor of love, and you know what I mean. And like
you're not gonna get on YouTube and get advertisements with Manscaper.
No, I know we talked about it. Not to rehash. We talked about a lot of the stuff last time too, but like that kind of whole vibe, that whole scene, and like now the fact that YouTube puts ads on your stuff, and rightfully so, they're paying to host it, but it's like.
Right. whether you're getting paid for it or not.
Exactly.
Right?
Like I don't want people sitting through a bunch of ads. I'd just rather put out a jibber jabber talk show that they can download for free.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Listen to that at their leisure or whatever.
Exactly.
EC will probably go back on YouTube eventually and stuff, but like usually like new podcasts I've noticed, like little independent ones like that aren't getting that much traffic right away, are not heavily scattered with ads. Yeah. And usually if it's like one ad at the beginning and then the rest is you're good. But yeah, when things get more popular, then the ads start building up, and it's like an ad every like, I don't know, minute or 6 minutes or something.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I never had the realistic goal of like quitting my job to do podcasts or do YouTube. Like, I always did it with just the hope that it would catch on and get an audience and stuff like that. But it's just like, sometimes it's better just to do something out of the passion for it than it is to make a business out of it. Because sometimes once you translate it into being business, then it's not as fun anymore, you know?
Right, and you're required to say good things about screener, or like not even just screeners, but like the boutiques. You gotta like,
yeah,
Grindhouse releasing. Not to say that I want to single, because these guys are great. They always put quality out, but yeah, Grindhouse releasing, everything they put out is gold. I love them, even though, I mean, Grindhouse releasing is like a fine wine, and they only put like a bottle or two out a year, like in 5 years sometimes. But honestly, they're doing it right, you know.
It's not even about that bad. I mean, for all the ribs, we give Arrow, I give Arrow. Like, I don't hate Arrow.
I haven't had any problems with Arrow personally.
I'm glad Arrow exists.
Yeah,
but here's the thing: is like, and like, I ran into this in the past trying to do episodes with other people who were on the shill train of boutique labels, and it's like, I just don't want to have to tell you that their shit is like good all the time just because I have to say that. Like I'll give somebody credit, but I'll also tell you when somebody fucked up and they're being douches about it. I just don't want to be forced with my hands tied behind my back to be like it's like, for what? Like, what am I getting out of it? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then people are like, oh, you get free movies. I was like, dude, it's like, I have shelves and shelves of movies in there. I paid for every single one, or like, got them as a gift, from family members or whatever. It's like, I don't need somebody to give me free movies. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, and on top of it, they would send you 6 movies, and only one of them you would actually like have bought yourself. So what's the deal with those 5 free movies that I don't even want to break the shrink wrap off and watch? You know what I mean? It's like, is that worth selling your soul for not telling the truth? Like, you know what I mean?
And you're forced to talk about them too.
Forced to talk about them, and forced to talk about them when you. I mean, I know we were joking. I was saying like, oh, the download numbers are going to suck because it's Halloween, but it's like, I don't care. I wanted to talk about Texas Chainsaw, like we talked about Last House and Texas Chainsaw last time. I'm like, I want to do one of those now. I don't want to wait till January till the numbers are better, and it's just like, I just want to do what I want to do.
Absolutely. I mean, I try to always put out, when I was doing EC, try to put out something Halloween oriented, or whether the numbers do good or not,
Yeah.
So
every day is like Halloween for me. So
right, especially with the collection you got.
Exactly.
So.
You've seen the Shrine, Bat. This is how deserving of movie hoarders, a show within a show, we are. I sent Bat actual photos that I took of my Halloween Michael Myers Shrine shelf.
And I said that you were missing the Blockbuster VHS exclusive that I have, and I was trying to get that Halloween 2 Blu-ray, and you're like, well, I've upgraded, but I will never sell it. And I'm like, but you'll never watch it again. Just hook the brother up. Like, no, I will never sell it, because I rotate them out every so often to display them.
Everything he's saying right now is true, and that's why we need to make movie hoarders.
I'm just gonna send you that Blockbuster VHS though, because you worked, didn't you? Oh, you worked at a movie.
I worked at Hollywood.
You never worked at. Oh, Hollywood. Okay, well, they're all the same thing. It's like movie. The only one chain that's not the same was Family Video, because Family Video had a nice porno section, and every fucking. I remember I dated this girl, and not to get off topic, but we are.
We're trying to end the show, but there's more stories that are popping up.
Yeah, outside of Nashville, and she's like, "Yeah, I've never been to the family video." I was like, "You guys got a family video?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, every family video has a porno section." She was like, "No, not down here." And I'm like, "Yeah, every one of them. Like, I'm telling you, every one of them, even all of them down here." And we go over, and I'm like, "I bet you a blowjob that there is one." She says, "You're on."
Amazing.
Like, oh, damn, get some head on this one. So we go over to the little door, because they all got like a door.
Yeah.
And some of them are marked, some of them are not, but it's kind of incognito. And I open the door like out of some fucking comedy movie from the 80s, you know, where like you've gone to heaven. And I'm like, here we are. Here it is. And she was just like, her jaw dropped, and she couldn't believe that this was in her little podunk fucking Southernburg area. And I was like, no, they're all like this.
Yeah, she probably even walked, if she had been to that store before, she probably walked right past the door, didn't even know it was there. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like going back towards the bathrooms and stuff, and like it's just kind of there. It's like you either you know or you don't know. And I don't remember if it said like adults only or not, but yeah, like so even in the like holiest of holy southern towns, when a family video, and they've all closed down shop sadly, but yeah, they were all
the family
with
video
the
had porn.
And when we went into that one, they had like Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style. This was like a lot different than when I was a kid going into them, and they had like Debbie Does Dallas, all the classics.
Right.
This is where I rented the Italian Stallion of Stallone's porno.
Yeah, Party
from
of
actually
Kitty and
back
Studs.
when that DVD first came out, they had it.
Oh, wow.
I think Pink Flamingos was back there, actually. When I first saw that on VHS, you had to go into the porno section to pick up Pink Flamingos.
Probably.
Yep. Yeah. And it had hardcore stuff going on. So, yep. That's the first time I saw Deep Throat. That's the first time I saw Debbie Does Dallas. All thanks to Family Video. And I had older people renting them for me. But even back then, like my mom, I remember I could rent horror movies. Mm-hmm. And she was all right, but she had a little thing on there. She's like, he can rent horror movies or R-rated, but no pornos. Even at Family Video, I couldn't get anything out of the porno room, but I could get like the nastiest horror movie on the shelf, but not the porno. So
I wonder if they would have let her put a note on if she was like the opposite. It was like, my son's 14, it's okay if he rents porn. I wonder if they like could have done it, like if they would actually have gone through with it.
I think they're obligated to do what the parents' wishes are. Like, I mean, you dude, like if mom says it's okay, like, hey, they're in the business to make money.
Yeah.
Let's not forget. So,
and the guy behind the counter, he's getting paid $5 an hour. He don't care.
Yeah, this is just more headache. I feel like at the movie, like when I was a teenager, they started like, oh, are you 18? But then if you got like a parent, like my mom, I remember wrote me notes and stuff so I could get into horror movies and stuff. And I'd be like, here's my mom's note and stuff. And they'd be like, all right, here you go. And I remember one time I went and bought all my friends tickets to an R-rated movie because my mom came in and was like, yeah, I'm like, don't worry, my mom will come in. Or I just bring somebody older. Like, I think I was like 16 or 15 when the first Resident Evil came out. So I just took this like one dude and I gave him money to get cigarettes and stuff. He's like, oh, I need some. I was like, I'll pay your way in and you buy my ticket to get into Resident Evil. And he was like, all right, cool. I bought him a pack of cigarettes or whatever. And he was cool with it, and he took me to the movie, so...
There's so many things we could bring up, but yeah. But again,
we're running too late, but I think this is a good little October show. It's a fun one. Yeah.
But yeah, get ready for more. I think it's really going to be unleashed on movie hoarders when there's no movie to get in the way of all these stories.
and we can fully tell our opinion and experiences of the boutique.
Like once we get the warning at the beginning of the show out of the way and people know what they're in for, and we can really let loose with the boutique sheiky.
Well, I should send you, if you don't have a copy, I should put you the EC episode on Loner of the 7-hour EC episode of the introduction. We could do part 2.
We could.
Because we never got to do part 2, and I was always thinking, hey, you did part 1 for EC, and we could do like a multi-show deal. Yeah.
Movie Hoarders. That will be the sequel. Movie Hoarders #2.
The subtitle, Electric Boogaloo.
Boutique Shiki Boogaloo. Yeah.
Boogaloo, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So that's it. Fright Fiends, thank you for listening to this show. Thank you for, coming to worship at the altar of the great Tobe Hooper. I just really wanted to throw a shout out to him, dedicate this episode to him, because there's a lot of people obviously, but like for a guy who should be known as a classic director, I don't think he gets enough praise and respect, in all honesty. But
yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. And Toolbox Murders is great. As far as his latter day stuff, anybody out there that's like on the fence, great. Angela Bettis is in it.
Wow.
And yeah, and Sherry Moon Zombie. It's the only film that Sherry Moon Zombie did that her husband didn't direct. And I think it's just because Rob was probably like, "Oh, you got to do this movie. It's Tobe Hooper. He basically is the reason why I'm making movies." He's
the guy that all my movies copy, so you got to do it for him.
Yeah, you have to do. You got to throw him a bone, and you got to suck his dick. So,
I'm sure.
Right.
But yeah,
she was in her prime still back then too when she did Toolbox Murders. So
if you watch The Munsters, she's looking good in that makeup.
I'm not watching The
Munsters,
dude. It ain't happening. I'm not gonna watch it. I'll watch it like Black Swan. I'll watch it I don't know how long that's 10, 15 years. I don't know if that's been out 10 years. It's been at least 10, right?
It's like 15 years, dude.
Yeah, it'll be like that. I'll finally be like, yeah, I watched it. It's not so bad. After the hype and everything. Yeah.
All right. I don't even know what else to say other than thanks a lot, and we'll catch you back here next time in the movie graveyard.
For more great shows, visit electronicmediacollective.com.